Anime-style card design. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 51. You Have a Way to Die. When Zhao Cheng and Wang Yaowei arrived, there was only one pirate left on the ship, who was kneeling in front of Russell. Did Moore ask you to monitor the entrance to the secret realm? Russell's words were interrogative, but his tone was very affirmative. After all, such a big thing happened on Skull Island last time. It would be strange if Moore, the boss of Black Flag, did not send someone to watch the entrance to the secret realm. The pirate who knelt on the ground kowtowed quickly. Under the strong desire to survive, he was still able to barely suppress the surging desire to attack in his heart since he met Russell. "Boss, I said you can let me go." But after seeing Russell's cold eyes, the pirate trembled all over, and told what he knew like a bamboo tube pouring beans. After listening to the pirate's story, Russell turned his head and looked at Kaneki on the side. "Kaneki, leave it to you." As the hideous Kagoon slowly tightened, the pirate's scream stopped abruptly. At this time, Russell had time to exchange information with Wang Yaowei. Russell frowned and said to Wang Yaowei, "Brother Wang, you should have heard it too. The demons in this secret realm have completely emerged?" "That's right." The pirate who just died at Kaneki's hands said that since Russell and his group made a big fuss on Skull Island last time, Black Flag has accelerated the merging of several pirate groups. It has basically been completed in recent days. Now the leaders of the 4 pirate groups are all gathered on Skull Island. Just wait for a good day to attack the secret realm, seize the position of the association, and grab the Emperor for Moore. Wang Yaowei's opinion of Russell changed slightly at this time. This kid looks much more pleasing to the eye than before. After all, Russell is currently acting decisively and his strength seems to be not weak. This can't help but make Wang Yaowei dispel some of his original stereotypes about Russell. Hearing Russell's question, Wang Yaowei thought for a moment and said, "Let's get close to Skull Island, then sneak in. I'll find a chance to kill all these leaders." As a registered card maker of the association, Wang Yaowei naturally couldn't sit idly by after hearing that the secret realm monsters might attack the secret realm. Originally, it was just to protect the safety of the people in front of him, but now it seems necessary to clean up this secret realm. Russell nodded slightly when he heard this. Wang Yaowei's plan was simple and crude, but using force to defeat cleverness has always been a very useful means. "I think if those leaders are killed, the remaining monsters will not be able to do anything." At this moment, Russell looked at the 3 people including himself, and was silent for a while before asking, "Are we missing someone?" Zhao Cheng glanced around blankly when he heard this, and then reacted the next moment, "Oh no, I forgot Brother Liu." After that, he rode a flying vehicle to pick up Lao Liu. Ignoring Zhao Cheng, Russell hesitated for a moment and asked Wang Yaowei, "Brother Wang, can I kill Moore?" Wang Yaowei was stunned when he heard this. He thought Russell meant for him to cripple Moore and then kill him. Thinking of his guess about the identity of the other party's leader's child, Wang Yaowei naturally had no objection. Although he was quite unhappy about this kind of thing, he still wanted to curry favor with him if he had the chance. "Okay." Wang Yaowei agreed quite happily. After a while, Zhao Cheng brought Lao Liu to the boat. The 4 of them immediately drove the boat to Skull Island. However, the closer they got to Skull Island, the stronger Russell's inner uneasiness became. "Until Captain Xiaoyan," Zhao Cheng roared in a low voice with red eyes as if bleeding. Lao Liu also clenched his teeth at this moment, clenched his fists, and his nails were deeply embedded in the flesh. Russell just stared at the scene in front of him in a daze. What caught the eyes of the 4 people were 2 tall flagpoles. On the flagpole hung 2 broken bodies that had long been blackened and dried under the scorching sun. At this time, a group of flies were circling around the 2 bodies. Taking a deep breath, Russell turned to look at Wang Yaowei and said word by word, "Brother Wang, I have changed my mind. No need to sneak in. Now I just want to punish the demon openly and dignifiedly." Before Wang Yaowei could react to Russell's meaning, the ship the 4 people were riding on had already crashed into the dock fiercely. "Enemy attack! Enemy attack!" The sharp cry that seemed to pierce the eardrums sounded at the dock. At this moment, the pirates stationed at the dock could only look helplessly at the oncoming ship. Boom! In the earth-shaking collision, most of the wooden dock collapsed directly. Russell had already called out Luffy. With Luffy's rubber fruit, The people on the ship landed safely. Such a violent collision naturally startled the birds in the woods on Skull Island. Now, anyone who is not a fool or a blind person can know that something big has happened at the dock. And this is exactly what Russell wanted. Soon, Moore arrived at the dock with several people who looked like otters. Wang Yawei was no longer able to blame Russell at this moment, and just said weakly, "Next time you do such a big thing, tell me in advance." After Luffy came out, he naturally realized that the student in front of him was a bronze-level card maker. But at such a young age, it is no wonder that the association asked him to protect the safety of this student at all costs. However, Wang Yawei's mental power silently felt the strength of the group of demons in front of him, and after a while, he breathed a sigh of relief. Except for the leader who might be a little difficult to deal with, the others were just serving food. He immediately summoned his own cards and prepared to take action. Unexpectedly, Russell grabbed him and said, "Brother Wang, let me do it." Wang Yawei looked Russell up and down, with a look of doubt in his eyes. "Can you do it?" It is true that the student in front of him is very talented. He has made bronze-level cards at this age, but he is afraid that he will not be able to deal with the leading demon on the opposite side. But in the end, Wang Yawei still agreed. After all, in his opinion, even if Russell can't do it, he still has himself to back him up. At this moment, Moore on the opposite side has been angered by the behavior of Russell and the others who completely ignored him. But as Moore looked at the card in front of Wang Yawei with fear, he sneered and finally just provoked, "I was wondering who is so bold. It turned out to be the little mouse who ran away last time. How is it? Are you satisfied with my artwork?" Moore pointed to the two corpses still hanging in the air, with a playful smile on his face. Since the people in front of him didn't take him seriously, Moore was ready to quickly kill the obviously important little mouse on the opposite side and let the other party taste what regret is. As for death? What a joke. He came out of this sea, would he still be afraid of death? However, after hearing Moore's provocation, Russell just said calmly, "You already have the means to die. Luffy, do it. Attack with all your strength." Chapter 52 Third Gear. Silently hanging the straw hat on his head behind him, Luffy no longer looked as lively as before. Since Russell said to go all out, Luffy bit his thumb. Moore on the opposite side was amused by the scene and taunted, "What? Are you scared? Want to find your mother to drink milk?" However, in response to him, Luffy's right fist suddenly expanded countless times. Rubber giant pistol. Facing the whistling huge right fist, Moore's face changed wildly. This kind of power reminded him of the subordinates of the Seven Seas King. How is it possible? Moore's incredulous roar echoed at the dock. Fake. All fake. The white blade slashed on Luffy's huge right fist, but only scratched a shallow wound. The next moment, Moore and Luffy's fist came into close contact. Bang! Moore flew backwards like a cannonball, smashing into the pirate group behind him, knocking several pirate minions standing in place away, and stirring up a puff of smoke. "Boss Moore!" The exclamations continued to ring out among the pirates. But Luffy would not give Moore a chance to breathe. Luffy jumped high, and as his right fist shrank, his right foot instantly grew larger. Rubber giant battle axe. With a terrifying sound of tearing the air, Luffy's right foot pierced the ground from top to bottom. Bang! The entire dock seemed to tremble because of this blow. The pirates on the opposite side had been frightened by Luffy's terrifying fighting power and collapsed to the ground. The leaders of the other pirate groups were sweating profusely as they watched the scene in front of them. In their eyes, Moore, who is like a god, was beaten like a dead dog at this moment, and had no power to fight back. In fact, Moore would not be so powerless normally, but it was a pity that he ran into Luffy. Emperor's recognition. Luffy's magnanimity was successfully recognized by the Emperor of the Sea, and he bet his future on him. When facing any pirate-type monster, Luffy will be fully strengthened. Do you know what the Emperor of the Sea is? With his hands on his hips JPG at this moment, Wang Yawei's pupils shrank as he looked at the scene in front of him. This power is barely comparable to that of an ordinary silver-level card. Zhao Chang and Lao Liu, who were beside Russell, had already been staring at this scene in amazement. Although Zhao Chang and Lao Liu had seen Luffy's performance on TV, they never expected that Luffy's strength was far more than what he showed in the Talent Cup. No wonder Russell vowed to avenge Joyu personally. It turned out that his confidence was here. They originally thought that Russell was going to rely on Wang Yawei to deal with Moore. At this time, Luffy landed gently beside Russell. Silently feeling Luffy's card in his mind, Russell couldn't help but sigh. Gear 3 is strong, but Luffy is about to enter cooling after just 2 hits. I'm afraid he only has the remaining strength for the last hit now. But this is also reasonable. After all, Luffy is just a bronze level card. It was worth it to be able to use the cooling time to get 3 attacks that were no weaker than the normal silver level. Moore's weak cough came from the smoke. Russell frowned, not dead yet. The smoke gradually dissipated, and Moore's miserable appearance at this moment was also presented to everyone. It was seen that the longsword in his right hand had already broken, and his originally strong body was even more damaged. There was no good meat on his body. But even in this state, Moore still had a breath. Really strong. I didn't expect that after coming here, I would still see such a strong man. Moore lay on the ground and said intermittently. But, last time, you were not that strong. Why? Does the death of someone close to you have to promote your growth? Ho ha ho ha. Cough cough cough. Russell originally listened to Moore's words attentively, thinking that there was some key information, but he didn't expect it to be just some boring trash talk. Go, Luffy. With Russell's words, Luffy entered the 3rd gear again. Rubber giant bazooka. In the huge and terrifying shadow, Moore's consciousness fell into eternal sleep. However, before Luffy's attack fell, I just want to see how miserable you are in the hands of the king. The words that sounded like a whisper floated into Russell's ears. Russell's eyes condensed, and he turned to look at the people around him. Did you just hear anything? Wang Yaowei and the other 2 shook their heads, indicating that they didn't hear anything. King. Shaking his head and throwing away the complicated thoughts, Russell just thought he had heard it wrong. At this moment, Luffy slowly dissipated in the air after using the last attack. Seeing this, Wang Yaowei couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Sure enough, that kind of attack has a price. If there's no price, I really don't know who is the silver level. The remaining leaders of the pirate group on the opposite side couldn't help but move when they saw this. Several people looked at each other, and could no longer suppress the surging killing intent in their hearts, and led the minions to rush up. Not to mention that Russell also had 2 cards, Tsudakoku Yoshiichi and Kaneki. Wang Yaowei beside him had already turned cold. Idiot, do you really think I'm just a decoration? It is true that he was shocked by Russell's bronze level card, but after all, he is also a silver level card maker. That's good, so I don't have to chase him down. With Wang Yaowei's thoughts, his cards instantly disappeared from the spot, reaping the lives of the demons present like the god of death. Several pirate leaders were defeated in one blow. Finally, the huge gap made the remaining pirates realize that they could not defeat the opponent by numbers alone. They dropped their weapons and fled into the mountains and forests. Wang Yaowei just watched all this coldly. Now that several leaders were dead, the rest were just minions and there was no need to care about them. Russell, who was standing by, sighed as he watched the scene in front of him. Sure enough, there's still a big gap between me and a real silver level card maker. But he immediately cheered up. With my speed, I think the silver level won't be far away. After entering the bronze level, Russell never slacked off in his meditation practice, and he had made great progress compared to the beginning. Although there was still a long way to go before the silver level. Zhao Luo, thank you so much. A crying voice brought Russell back to his senses. Zhao Cheng was kneeling in front of him at this moment. Russell panicked. He had never seen such a scene before. He immediately helped Zhao Cheng up. Brother Zhao, why are you so desperate? Zhao Cheng stood up with Russell's help, wiped his eyes, and said, I knew I couldn't avenge myself, but I didn't expect it. Zhao Cheng choked up and started to speak incoherently. I really thank you, Zhao Luo. Brother Zhao has nothing but a miserable life. You can always find me if you need me in the future. Russell was speechless when he heard this. If he couldn't solve any problem himself, how could Zhao Cheng solve it for him? But he would not disappoint others' kindness. He just said, sure, sure. At this time, Zhao Cheng handed something to Russell. This is the material condensed by the demon. In his hand, it was the material condensed after Moore's death. Bronze level, elite pirate swordsman, gold. Chapter 53, Doubts. Seeing Zhao Cheng handing over the materials condensed by Moore, Russell took them as a matter of course. After all, he was the one who killed Moore, so Russell would not refuse. Tisk. At this time, Wang Yaowei on the side sneered, the confluence of these demons makes it easier for us to clean up. Russell nodded when he heard this. Indeed, if these leaders were not on Skull Island, Wang Yaowei would have to clean up this small secret realm. After the battle, The four spent a short while cleaning up the battlefield. All the collected materials were handed over to Wang Yaowei. After all, except for Moore, the rest of the demons present were killed by Wang Yaowei, and no one would think it was inappropriate. After taking the materials, Wang Yaowei thought about it for a while, and then divided the black iron level materials in his hand into 3 parts and gave them to Russell and the other 2. But Russell did not accept them. "Brother Wang, take it yourself. I almost didn't contribute to the battle later." Russell is not the kind of shameless person. The demons behind were basically killed by Wang Yaowei, and Russell would not have any objection even if he swallowed all the materials. It was somewhat unexpected that he was willing to share. Hearing Russell's refusal, Wang Yaowei showed a hint of impatience between his eyebrows. "Just accept it if I tell you to. Why are you talking so much nonsense? The total value of these more than 70 pieces of materials is only about 1 million Ming Dynasty treasure notes." As a silver-level card maker, Wang Yaowei is not reluctant to spend this little money. After all, Russell in front of him is a talent that can be seen with the naked eye, and a small investment will not be a loss. After a moment of silence, Russell still accepted the materials, but handed them to Zhao Chang. "Brother Zhao, give these materials to Brother Zhou and Sister Xuang's family." Seeing that no one took the materials in his hand for a long time, Russell turned his head to look. Zhao Chang had a forced smile on his face and said, "Xiao Luo, use it yourself, Brother Zhou and Xiao Yan. The family members are all dead." This. Russell's outstretched hand froze in midair. He only knew that Zhou Yi's parents had passed away, but he didn't expect that both of them were truly lonely. After a while, Russell pretended to be calm and stretched out his hand, saying, "Sorry, I didn't know." Russell could only avoid exposing the scar. Zhao Chang waved his hand and signaled Russell not to take it to heart. The person is gone, and they, the living, can't live in the past forever. At least now Russell has avenged Zhou Yi and the others. After the division of the spoils, the 4 of them found a boat near the dock and headed towards the entrance of the secret realm. After all, the boat they were on at the beginning had been damaged by Russell, and it was a blessing to find a boat near the dock. Everything was resolved, and they had no reason to stay here anymore. At the gate of the base, Russell said goodbye to Zhao Chang and Lao Liu, and rode Pidgeot home. As for Wang Yaowei, he naturally went to the base commander to hand in the task. Being temporarily transferred out to escort Russell and clean up the secret realm, the association could not fail to give him a reward. So he didn't lose out. But speaking of it, as a high school student, Russell hasn't been to school for a long time. He feels that he has already entered the internship stage in his junior year. Shanghai City Card Maker Association. Bai Yuming took a sip of tea slowly and asked Yan Wenlei, "Have you arranged Jiang Wang's affairs?" Yan Wenlei pushed his glasses and said, "Yes, I made up a reason today and let him take charge of the aftermath of the city first." The reason why Yan Wenlei didn't leave Jiang Wang completely idle all at once was that he was afraid of alerting the enemy, so it would be better to plan step by step. Hearing this, Bai Yuming was a little non-committal. In fact, normally, he could call Jiang Wang over and test him with Lu Zhiao. It's just that Jiang Wang's 6-tailed fox is also a spiritual specialty. It's better to be safe than sorry. And even if it's concealed, with Jiang Wang's meticulous mind, I'm afraid he will guess. If Jiang Wang is really an insider, it's fine. If not, at this critical moment, it's easy to chill the hearts of the association's card makers. Putting Jiang Wang's matter aside for the time being, Yan Wenlei smiled and said, "Master Bai, it seems that you will have one more student in a month." Yan Wenlei was talking about Russell. Judging from Russell's performance in this incident, he should be able to pass the unified examination of Jiang Province. At least Yan Wenlei has not heard of any student more talented than Russell yet. Although a card maker cannot judge the strength of a card by a single card, there are also effects such as bonds and chains. But one step faster, every step faster. Russell is currently far ahead of this year's senior high school students. Of course, it is not ruled out that someone will catch up. After all, in the history of the Ming Dynasty, there are also card makers who have achieved success late in life. Hearing Yan Wenlei's teasing, Bai Yuming smiled and did not deny Yan Wenlei's words. Even if he did not tell Yan Wenlei that even if Russell's results in the unified examination of Jiang Province were not ideal, he would still accept this student. It was still that dark and humid underwater nest. Jinping looked at the man in a suit in front of him and said with a playful look, "So there is no chance of winning over Russell." The man in the suit seemed to be amused by Jinping's words, But he immediately felt that he was not respecting Jinping by doing so, and said, "How could he give up his bright future and join you? As long as the association is not stupid, it will focus on training Russell based on his performance in the Talent Cup." Hearing the man in the suit's words, Jinping shook his head and looked at the man in front of him meaningfully and said, "That may not be the case. Sometimes it may just be that the price is not enough. After all, haven't you joined the Begging Spirit Society now?" The man in the suit seemed to be angered by Jinping's words, and snorted heavily and said, "If it weren't for my wife's business, how could I join you, a group of dark reptiles?" Just after the man in the suit said the word reptile, Jinping's expression gradually became cold. "Watch your tone." At this time, the man in the suit remembered that the man in front of him was also a master card maker. "Tisk." An unwilling voice sounded in the cave. After a long time, Jinping's voice was heard again in the cave. "Do you know what the association will do next?" The man in the suit said angrily, "I don't know. The association should have noticed that there is a traitor. The recent actions are very cautious." Jinping didn't care, but just said casually, "I will let Xiao Wu try this Russell again. If it doesn't work, just kill him." At home, Russell sat cross-legged on the sofa. He was silently thinking about the production of the next card. If he doesn't count the cash, he has the bronze level, Blood Devourer, gold, and bronze level, Elite Pirate Swordsman, gold, materials. As for Blood Devourer, gold, Russell actually has no idea. But Elite Pirate Swordsman, gold. Russell does have some ideas. And it can also be used to create a bond for the cards in his hand. Chapter 54, Pirate Hunter. Opening the trading website, Russell looked through the bronze level materials on sale. Bronze level, Nameless Demon Sword, gold, priced at 1.6 million Ming Dynasty treasure notes. Sure enough, the materials awarded by the association can all be found on the trading website. Soon, Russell saw the material he did not choose last time on the website, but why is there only one? Russell was a little helpless now. The card he was going to make required at least 3 sword-type materials. If it really didn't work, he could only settle for the next best thing and see if there was a lower-level substitute. But this was also where the card maker had no choice. Bronze-level materials alone were not so abundant, let alone higher-level materials. The materials obtained by high-level card makers were basically bartered except for their own use. The Ming Dynasty treasure notes became like waste paper in the hands of high-level card makers, just like in the original history. So this is why high-level cards are scarce. Sometimes, it is often the case that the card maker's mental power has reached the threshold, but the materials on hand do not conform to the story compiled by the card maker, resulting in their inability to produce cards that meet their own level. And even if they find the output of the secret realm that fits their story, they have to consider whether they can defeat the monsters in the secret realm. However, Russell didn't have this worry. Basically, he could think of a suitable story for the materials he got. Shaking off the complicated thoughts in his heart, Russell quickly took the Nameless Demon Sword. To be honest, he was a little afraid that the same thing would happen to the Type 1 biological colonization suit last time, even though the material finally got him. Hey, I saved up money for so long, and half of it went out in a flash. Seeing that more than half of the balance in the card disappeared in an instant, Russell was a little melancholy. Including the black iron level materials that were sold, Russell originally had 3 million in cash, but now only more than 1.4 million is left. But this money is not enough to buy 2 purple quality materials. It seems that he can only use Bloody Devourer to exchange. Sword materials have always been the largest part of the materials, so Russell's search is not difficult. Soon, Russell exchanged 2 identical bronze level, family heirloom swords, purple, 2 from a seller, who also paid the difference of 200,000. Strictly speaking, Russell was at a disadvantage, but materials are only meaningful if they can be made into cards and converted into actual combat power. Therefore, Russell could accept it. Soon, the materials were delivered to Russell by Cuckoo Bird. These are bronze-level materials, and higher-level materials are usually traded face-to-face. Family heirloom swords, purple, 2, Nameless Demon Sword, gold, bronze level, Elite Pirate Swordsman, gold. It was the first time for Russell to use so many materials to make a card. After drawing the image of a green algae-haired teenager on the blank card, the dark mysterious space welcomed Russell's visit again. Please start compiling your story. Zoro was born in Shimatsuki village in the East China Sea. Due to his outstanding talent, He was able to become a disciple of Shimotsuki Kishiro, the owner of Shimotsuki Dojo. After his childhood friend Kina, who shared the same dream, died unexpectedly, Zoro was determined to become the world's greatest swordsman. Zoro was extremely hard-working in his childhood, and he even created his own three-sword style. After experiencing the experience in Shields Town, Zoro joined Luffy's Straw Hat Pirates. In Orange Town, Zoro defeated Kabaji, the cadre of buggy pirates, and was taken away by Luffy. In Westbrook Village, Zoro and Luffy defeated the Cat brothers Sam and Buji, and turned the pirate clothes conspiracy into ashes. In the Battle of Judicial Island, Zoro used the nine-sword style to defeat Kaku, the first swordsman of CP9. Russell was slightly stunned when writing this. He felt that he could continue writing. After all, the last time Luffy went to Judicial Island, he could not continue. In the Sabaody Archipelago, Zoro was captured by the Navy Admiral Kizaru. Just when Kizaru was about to deliver the final blow to Zoro, Pluto Rayleigh appeared in time to save Zoro and was patted away by Big Bear. The story is almost over at this point. Russell was not surprised. After all, the members of the Straw Hat Pirates have made a qualitative leap after 2 years of training. Because Zoro's story is basically complementary to Luffy's, the two reflect each other, and the mysterious space naturally recognizes Zoro's story. In the mist, a green-haired child appeared in front of Russell, pulling the boulder with his mouth and hands, training himself madly. The next moment, the child turned into a teenager, galloping on the sea with a black-haired boy wearing a straw hat. In the middle, there was laughter and unwillingness. Gradually, everything turned into a card floating quietly in front of Russell. Pirate Hunter, Zoro, rank, bronze quality, red category, biological skills, 1 sword style, 1 sword style, flying dragon, flame, 1 sword style, lion song, 1 sword style, 36 troubles phoenix, 2 sword style, 2 sword style, eagle wave, 2 sword style, rhinoceros return, 2 sword style, 2 slashes, 2 sword style, ox needle, 2 sword style, 72 troubles phoenix, 3 sword style, 3 sword style, demon slash, 3 sword style, tiger hunt, 3 sword style, crow, demon hunt, 3 sword style, tornado, 3 sword style, 108 troubles phoenix, 3 sword style secret, 3000 worlds, 9 sword style, ghost key, 9 sword style, azura, 1 mist silver, ghost key, 9 sword style, azura, demon 9 flash. Features: Heart of Swordsman. As a swordsman, Zoro has longed to become the world's greatest swordsman since he was a child. This makes him particularly excited when facing a strong swordsman enemy, and his strength will also increase slightly. The way of Azuro, the scar on the back is a shame for a swordsman. Zoro would rather die than get hurt on the back. When facing the enemy head-on, Zoro's ability will be enhanced. Strong body. Day after day, year after year, Zoro's body is getting stronger and stronger. He wants to prove to the world that even without the ability of the fruit, he can become the world's greatest swordsman. Introduction: I want to become the world's greatest swordsman. Advanced route: Bronze, Pirate Hunter, Zoro, Gold, Worst Generation, Zoro, Emerald, Great Swordsman, Zoro. Bond: when appearing at the same time with the Mihawk series, the effect, World's Greatest Swordsman, can be activated. When appearing at the same time with the Luffy series, the effect, Straw Hat Pirates, can be activated. Activated Bond, Straw Hat Pirates, 2/10, Bond effect, when the members of the Straw Hat Pirates appear at the same time, if one member dies, the remaining members will enter a furious state. Note: Fury, at the cost of losing reason, the card attributes will be greatly enhanced in all aspects. It's actually red. Russell was a little surprised when he saw the quality of the card, because Zoro's strength in the original work is definitely not as good as Luffy's. But this also proves that the quality of the card is closely related to both the setting and the material. But the upper limit is only emerald level. Russell muttered to himself. This was not unexpected to him. After all, Zoro is only Luffy's deputy, and Luffy's upper limit is diamond level. Putting away his thoughts, Russell called out both Luffy and Zoro. Zoro's naming ability is really invincible. I admit defeat. When I was writing, I was afraid that you would scold me, so I picked and wrote, and this time the cards should not be too long. I deliberately abbreviated it a lot. Brothers, give some feedback. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 55. Now is the time for fantasy. As Russell touched the card in his mind, Zoro and Luffy instantly appeared in front of him. "Hey, Zoro." Luffy smiled and greeted Zoro. The stories of the two echoed each other, so Russell didn't find it strange that the cards knew each other. After all, if there was no reaction, the bond effect of the Straw Hat Pirates would not be triggered. "Oh, it's Luffy." The green-haired young man with a golden teardrop-shaped earring on his left ear responded. Looking at the 3 knives that came with the cards on Zoro's waist, Russell was thoughtful. Maybe I can make a few knives for Zoro to use first. After all, as a swordsman, weapons are indeed a key factor affecting strength. According to Zoro's story, there should be chain cards that can be made. For example, Wado Ichimonji and Yanma are the weapons he holds in the story. But to be honest, the weapons in the One Piece world basically have no special abilities and are easy to bite their masters. Since they are also masters, why didn't Russell make the Sword of World Domination, Murakumo Yat, in Inuyasha? Or weapons like Heavenly Crystal and Tiger Soul in the Mysterious Weapons? However, the destructive power of these weapons is a bit over the standard, and they cannot be made at the moment. It seems that there are actually quite a few prop cards that can be used. Moreover, the 3 treasure beads made before can no longer keep up with Russell's development speed, and a self-defense prop needs to be made again. Russell has been coveting the magic-modified version of Sevenfold Ring of Blazing Sky, of a certain red-clothed and white-haired man for a long time, but it's a pity that this thing obviously cannot be made now. And Pidgeot, after all, it was just used by Russell for emergency at the beginning, and it also needs to be replaced. In fact, Russell has also considered the Zanpakuto in Bleach, but the Zanpakuto is more like a character ability, and I'm afraid it may not be able to be made. And even if it is made, can't the cards in the Bleach world master Shike and Bankei through practice? After all, there is not even the most basic spiritual pressure. But looking at the cold balance of 1.6 million in the card, Russell was instantly like being poured with a basin of cold water. Poor. Moreover, many materials cannot be bought with money, so he can only make plans based on the materials he can get. Putting away the complicated thoughts in his heart, Russell thought for a while and called out Tsugikuni Yoriichi. As expected, when Tsugikuni Yoriichi appeared, Zoro's eyes suddenly became sharp. This swordsman is so strong. His swordsman's heart was warning wildly at this moment. If it weren't for the limited world level, he would probably be a strong enemy. This is also where Russell is helpless. According to Yoriichi's performance in the original work, he shouldn't have only this level. Unfortunately, due to the poor initial materials, Yoriichi is now a youth version, and all his abilities are weakened. And the upper limit of Demon Slayer is there, resulting in him not having an advanced route. How about we spar? At this time, Zoro asked Tsugikuni Yoriichi. Although it was a question, Zoro's right hand was already on the hilt of the knife at his waist. And Tsugikuni Yoriichi instantly realized the strength of the person in front of him after he appeared. But why does he have 3 swords? Tsugikuni Yoriichi was a little confused at this moment. In his career of slaying demons, he had never seen anyone carrying 3 swords at the same time. Fortunately, Russell stopped Zoro in time. He said helplessly, "If you want to spar, wait until tomorrow. I will apply for a venue from the school. If you fight here, you will have to pay for it if it is broken." Hearing this, Zoro's fighting spirit gradually extinguished. As Russell's card, he could naturally sense that the other party was telling the truth. Tsugikuni Yoriichi was actually not very willing to fight with other humans. Since he was a child, he felt uncomfortable with the feeling of a knife cutting on others. As for the demons in the secret realm, in his opinion, they were no different from the cannibal demons like Muzan. This is why Russell had asked Kaneki to clean up the mess before. The next day, Russell came to school after a long absence. Since the joint entrance examination of the 4 schools, he has not been to class for more than half a month. Although there is nothing to teach him in high school courses now. After a night of meditation, Russell was in good spirits. Seeing Jang Nanxi lying on the table in a slump, he couldn't help but ask in a strange voice, "Long time no see, Jang Nanxi, why are you like this?" Indeed, The two had not seen each other since entering the Black Flag secret realm, and they did not see each other in the subsequent Talent Cup because Jiang Nangxi was still in the secret realm at that time. Jiang Nangxi heard the sound, raised his head and took a look, then said weakly, "It's you, Russell, long time no see. Congratulations, great genius, you won the first place in the Talent Cup." It was Jiang Nangxi who made Russell feel a little weird when they first met. Russell secretly confirmed in his heart. Jiang Nangxi always tells the facts in a weird way, which is also a skill in Russell's view. "I look like this because I didn't sleep well last night," Jiang Nangxi said sullenly while lying on the table. Luo Su was shocked when she heard this. "It's illegal to be underage, big sister." Hearing Luo Su's words, Jiang Nangxi looked up blankly and asked blankly, "What's illegal? What are you talking about?" But she reacted immediately. Rolling her eyes at Luo Su unhappily, Jiang Nangxi said with a hint of helplessness, "What are you thinking about? It's my father's business." Luo Su was stunned. "Uncle Jiang? What can happen to Uncle Jiang, a gold-level card maker?" Fortunately, Jiang Nangxi didn't mean to keep it a secret, and immediately said, "He was a little unhappy when he got home from get off work last night. He can hide it from others, but can he hide it from me as a daughter?" Hearing this, Luo Su was silent for a while, and then asked, "Did Uncle Jiang say what it was?" After all, Jiang Wang has taken good care of himself these days, and Luo Su can't stand idly by if something happens. Although a gold-level card maker can't solve the problem, he, a bronze-level card maker, is unlikely to be able to solve it either. Jiang Nangxi leaned on the table again and said in a dull voice, "It's because I didn't get anything out that I feel so uncomfortable." This. Russell couldn't help but feel a little at a loss, but he couldn't do more for Jiang Nangxi's housework. Moreover, as a single-parent child, it must have been very hard for Jiang Wang to raise Jiang Nangxi. Middle-aged men always have such days, Russell could only think so. Returning to his seat, Russell started the day's classes. After school, Russell asked Victoria Song to borrow the battlefield. Victoria Song naturally had no reason to refuse. Arriving at the battlefield, Russell summoned the cards he held. On the field, Jigoro Yuanai looked at Zoro on the opposite side and finally understood why the other party carried 3 swords. How could someone be a 3-sword style? Exclamation mark. Chapter 56, Evil Russell. At this moment, Tsugikuni Yoriichi, who has always been very strict in facial expression management, couldn't hold it back. Especially when he saw Zoro holding a knife in his mouth. 3-sword style. Tsugikuni Yoriichi's gentle voice sounded in the field. "Damn, the dumb man is talking." Hearing Tsugikuni Yoriichi's words, Russell looked at him in amazement. It was the first time he heard Tsugikuni Yoriichi speak. Although Yoriichi's story background said that he didn't like to speak when he was a child, Russell always thought that it was because he used too poor materials that Yoriichi couldn't speak. So he didn't want to. Exclamation mark. "Zoro, come on." Luffy's voice rang out on the sidelines. And Luffy's voice was like a whistle to start a duel. Zoro instantly attacked Tsugikuni Yoriichi. Of course, Zoro was suppressing his own strength. After all, the gap between bronze and black iron levels is still a bit big. What's more, he is red quality, while Yoriichi is only purple. Therefore, the two of them were only competing in swordsmanship this time. Ding ding ding. The sound of swords intersecting kept ringing on the field. As the fight continued, dazzling sparks flashed in the field. What was beyond Tsugikuni Yoshiichi's expectation was that the 3-sword style of the green-haired boy in front of him was unexpectedly powerful. It was not the kind of fancy show at all. Taking a deep breath, Zoro crossed his left and right hands, and his figure passed like a meteor. Facing such an attack, Tsugikuni Yoshiichi's breathing was still involuntarily inhaling and exhaling. Sun breathing technique. Ding ding ding. Tsugikuni Yoshiichi successfully blocked Zoro's attack. But after that, he directly sheathed the sword and said calmly, "I lost." He used the sun breathing technique, violating the agreement at the beginning that only swordsmanship would be competed. Zoro put away 3 swords one by one, saying, "It was just luck." Yes, he could feel the power of Tsugikuni Yoshiichi's swordsmanship. Although it was said to be a swordsmanship competition, he actually took advantage of the card level and quality. At this moment, Russell walked to the center of the field and said to Zoro with a smile, "Don't be disappointed, there will be plenty of opportunities to fight against stronger swordsmen in the future." Hearing Russell's words, Zoro's slightly disappointed mood instantly improved. Russell was not lying. When he makes Yamato Natashiko, no, Anahana Yochirayu, Zoro will surely be satisfied with his swordsmanship. Putting away the cards on the field, Russell prepared to go home. Riding on Pidgeot and slowly landing at the door of his house, Russell sighed in his heart, it's still useless to wear goggles. It seems that the new vehicle issue needs to be solved. However, what should he make if he wants to run fast and adapt to all terrains, and also pay attention to comfort? While thinking, Russell took out a key and pushed the door open. Walking through the corridor, Russell was about to go to the kitchen to get a glass of water. Just as he passed the living room, his body suddenly froze. Don't be afraid, Luo, sit down. A magnetic voice sounded in Russell's home. Russell turned his head stiffly and saw a man in a black suit sitting on the sofa and looking at him with a smile. The next moment, Luffy, Zoro, Kaneki, and Tsugikuni appeared in front of him in an instant. But bang! At the moment when the four people appeared, a huge and irresistible pressure came down from nowhere, pressing the four people to their knees, and several cracks appeared on the floor in an instant. At this moment, a young man with an indifferent expression was standing next to the man in the suit and looking at Russell's cards indifferently. Russell's cards couldn't help but roar, their eyes were red, and they tried to stand up with all their strength. Unfortunately, they couldn't do it. Hey, leave it to me. With a sigh, Russell comforted Luffy and others a little and put them back into his mind. He could see that the person in front of him was not someone he could resist at all. At least he was sure that he was not a silver level, and a silver level would not leave Luffy and Zoro powerless to fight back. It's better to save some energy and see what the other party is up to. Qi Ling. Russell had already guessed the identity of the visitor. Who else could it be but Qi Ling? Russell felt helpless at this moment. He suffered from the orphan. If there were other people at home, Qi Ling would definitely not dare to come to his door so openly. And didn't they just get hurt? Why are they acting more arrogant than before? Russell thought silently in his heart. The man in the suit nodded slightly after hearing Russell's rhetorical question, and said with a smile, "Let me introduce myself. My name is Gu. You can call me Fifth Brother." Unable to figure out the intention of the man in front of him, Russell responded honestly, "Fifth Brother." There was no way, the situation was stronger than the person. Seeing that Russell was so sensible, Gu showed a satisfied smile on his face. "You are a teachable boy. I came here to invite you, Luo, to join the Spirit Begging Society." Hearing Guwu's words, Russell showed a helpless smile. "At this point, I still have a choice. I'll join." Guwu showed a non-committal expression at this time. "Hey, don't say that, we in the Spirit Begging Society still respect human rights. If you really don't want to join, we won't make it difficult for you. It's just that you may have to pay a small price." Guwu had already had some murderous intentions towards Russell at this moment. How could he not notice the appearance of Soren just now? This means that the high school student in front of him has made another card. Adhering to the principle of destroying it if he can't get it, Guwu is ready to take action. "I hope you can make the right choice." Guwu had an impeccable smile on his face, and cold thoughts kept flashing through his mind. "I really don't want to attack a genius like you." At this time, Russell couldn't help but feel speechless. How could he not understand what Guwu meant? That means there is no choice. And respect human rights. The fate of Lao Wang, Liu Jiang, and so many ordinary employees of JK Credit are all vivid in our minds. Sure enough, Guwu took out a contract from his body and handed it to Russell. "Words are not enough, please sign it, Mr. Luo." Russell's figure straightened up for a moment, but soon relaxed again, and sighed in his heart. Sure enough. According to the nature of the Qi Ling Society, how could they not sign the contract? Guwu looked at Russell with a playful look at this time. He was a little curious about what Russell would choose. In his eyes, Russell took a deep breath, took the contract, and began to look at the terms of the contract. After a long time, Russell exhaled silently. "Good man, this clause, the black-hearted capitalists in the previous life would kowtow to you." After a long silence, Russell picked up the pen and signed his name on the contract. "Russell, I know everyone is anxious, but don't worry, tomorrow you will know why it is written like this." Chapter 57, What does your arrest of Lu Xun have to do with me, Joe Shuren? As Russell signed his name, the echo of the contract was heard in the void. At this moment, a low whisper that was blown away by the wind sounded in Russell's ears. "This is my last ripple." What's that voice? Just as Russell was stunned, Guwu's voice called him back to his thoughts. "He who knows the times is a hero." "Congratulations, Mr. Luo." Seeing Russell signed his name to reach the contract, Guwu showed a satisfied smile on his face. "You made the right choice." At this moment, no matter how angry Russell was, the fact that he was on the pirate ship was irrefutable. Although he didn't feel that there was anything wrong with him. The contract has told you what you can and can't say. You can think about it carefully. As if seeing through Russell's inner emotions, Guwu said to him with an inexplicable smile on his face. Russell recalled his empty head and couldn't help but be a little stunned. What's going on? Is he bluffing me? Guwu just thought that Russell was checking the content carefully and didn't care. Just as Russell was thinking hard about what Guwu said, he remembered the whispers that he had just regarded as hallucinations. It's really here. Russell found the content of the contract in the original owner memory. But the problem is that the original owner has never been in contact with the Qi Ling Society, and he has never seen similar content in his memory before. Then this content will only appear after Russell signed the contract today. Could it be? Russell silently pondered a possibility in his heart. Since the official language of the Ming Dynasty is traditional Chinese, Russell has always used traditional Chinese to adapt to the local customs. He subconsciously signed the traditional Chinese Russell just now. But the problem is that he has always been Russell instead of Russell. Now he can only think of the contract judgment that the original owner and the Qi Ling Society have reached a deal. But the original owner is dead. How can a dead person fulfill the contract? He is now completely stuck with a bug. Thinking of this, Russell's heart couldn't help but jump wildly. Is it you, Russell? No wonder his mental power talent is so terrifying. Two people are definitely better than one person. However, with the signing of this contract, even if Russell did not feel any decline in his mental strength at this time, he knew that he would be alone in the future. As if seeing through Russell's inner emotions, Guwu smiled at him. Of course, the club also has some gifts for classmate Luo. As he said, Guwu took out a material from his arms. Adhering to the principle of big sticks and candied dates, the Qi Ling Club will definitely give him some benefits. Bronze level, individual combat armor, purple. Russell reached out to take the material, and he didn't have any psychological burden. It was indeed written in the contract that the Qi Ling Club would provide him with financial support. As for how much? It depends entirely on the other party's mood. But think about it, it can be regarded as fleecing the Qi Ling Club. Even if the other party gave him black iron level materials, Russell would not dislike it. But bronze level purple is really stingy. Just as Russell was thinking about the use of this material, Guwu shouted loudly, "The matter is resolved, you can come down." Da da da. The crisp sound of leather shoes rang on the stairs. Russell turned his head and saw the person in front of him, which made his pupils shrink instantly. President Ma. Russell uttered these words with difficulty. That's right, the person who came was Ma Liang, the president of the Ning'an District Card Maker Association in Shanghai. Russell knew that there was a traitor in the association, and he had some guesses. But he didn't expect the level of the traitor to be so high. You have to know that above the president of the district association are some directors of the headquarters of the Shanghai Card Maker Association, and then the president of the association, Yan Wenlei. At this moment, he finally understood why the people from the Qi Ling Association could enter his home so easily. With the talents they showed, Bai Yuming and Yan Wenlei could not help but have someone protect them secretly. But the problem is that they can't come in person for such a thing, and sending a gold-level card maker in the end is already the best. And the Card Maker Association doesn't like to have confidence. Then this matter needs someone to arrange it. And Russell's residence at this time is in Ning'an District. Naturally, this matter fell on Ma Liang's head. And even if it wasn't Ma Liang who did it, he could guess who was in charge of this matter, given the number of gold-level people in the association, which was neither too many nor too few, and the final result was just that he had to spend more time talking. After all, Ma Liang was a high-ranking official, and no one could have imagined that he would actually join the Qi Ling Society. No wonder the Qi Ling Society was able to find Du Heng so quickly after the incident in the Qianzu secret realm, and Du Heng and Jiguantao were able to find his home so accurately. The Qianzu secret realm is within the Ning'an district, and the person in charge must have reported it to Ma Liang at the beginning. Ma Liang must have known that the deaths of Du Heng and Jiguantao were entirely caused by Luo Su, and had nothing to do with Zhang Wang. Ma Liang could not hide the fact that Luo Su's resume was tampered with later, because Ma Liang had been paying attention to him when Luo Su had not yet shown his talent. Ma Liang had a strange smile on his face at this time, and said, "See you again, classmate Luo." It's worth my effort to temporarily transfer Lao Ji. When Ma Liang first met Luo Su, he just thought he was a young man with a little talent. Until Coxcomb died in Russell's hands. Coupled with Russell's performance in the joint entrance examination of 4 schools, Ma Liang confirmed that Russell was a rare genius. At this time, he began to observe Russell, but he was not very eager to absorb Russell into the Qi Ling Club. Until this time, no one in the Qi Ling Club knew that there was such a person as Russell. Then, on the eve of the Talent Cup, after Russell got the information about the Talent Cup from Brother Hu, Ma Liang found that Russell's resume had been moved, and the next day, Shanghai No. 1 Middle School hurriedly signed up for the Talent Cup. In addition, when Gu Wu went to clean up the social idlers and observed Brother Hu's abnormality, the Qi Ling Club confirmed that the association had noticed the conspiracy of the Talent Cup. So they took advantage of the trick and directly launched a plan to stop the loss. Those who plan big things hide in their hearts and act in things. Things are accomplished by secrecy and fail by leaking. Sure enough, the fewer people who know about the conspiracy, the better. The essence is to use the unequal information gap between the two parties to make profits for themselves. Just like Russell now, the Qi Ling Society didn't know that Russell was not controlled by the contract, which gave him the opportunity to fleece the Qi Ling Society. President Ma, I didn't expect it to be you. Russell suppressed the turmoil in his heart and said with a wry smile on his face. Just as Ma Liang was about to say something, Gu Wu's voice rang out among the 3 people. Don't say hello, Luo Su, Ma Liang will be your superior from now on. He will come to you if there's anything. Ma Liang showed a non-committal expression on his face when he heard this. Please give me more advice in the future, classmate Luo. Luo Su pretended to be helpless and nodded, but secretly thought in his heart, should I find an opportunity to directly tell Master Bai and the others about this? No, I'm afraid there will be no place for me in Shanghai after the matter is exposed. And how can I explain that I am not controlled by the Qi Ling Society? Let's talk about it before I run away. See if I can get some benefits during this period. That's right, after the incident of the Talent Cup, Russell had made up his mind that he would not return to Shanghai after the unified examination of Jiang Province. Anyway, he was ready to choose Nanjing University. From what he had learned these days, the Qi Ling Society had not yet grown long enough to reach the mainland. It was just that he didn't expect that Ma Liang was actually an insider, which made the guards arranged by the association completely useless. As for self-defense props, Russell, as a bronze-level player, could only use bronze-level props. Even if the association gave him props, it would be useless in the face of Gu Wu, whose level was unknown. Even if the broken props would let the association know that Russell was in trouble, by the time they arrived, Russell's body would probably be cold. Chapter 58, Mark 3. Regardless of what Russell was thinking, Gu Wu and the other 2 saw that the matter had been resolved, so they stopped staying. As for the mission, Russell had just joined the Spirit Begging Society, so naturally he would not be assigned any mission. The 2 just asked him to wait for notification. After seeing the 2 off, Russell couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Finally they left. To be honest, today's experience was too exciting. Russell still hasn't recovered from his shock. Sitting on the sofa, Russell summoned his own cards. Luffy and the others all had an unwilling and ashamed look on their faces. Seeing this, Russell waved his hands and comforted them. Don't blame you, it's my own carelessness. Russell was speaking from the heart. What happened in recent days made him a little flattered. As a slave painter in his previous life, he had never felt this kind of feeling of being praised to the sky. But today's experience really taught him a lesson. It's better to rely on yourself than on others. Russell sighed silently in his heart. No matter how powerful Master Bai is, it doesn't matter to me. Even if he can avenge me, so what? At this moment, he finally realized that in this world with extraordinary people, card makers are a real dangerous profession. No matter if they are association card makers or illegal card makers. But in the final analysis, Russell is not strong enough. If he is a master, no. As long as he is a gold-level card maker, the Qi Ling Association will not dare to come to him so easily. But fortunately, the final result is still good. At least the contract of the Qi Ling Association cannot restrict him. In other words, he got a piece of material for no reason. Ma Liang. Thinking of Ma Liang, Russell couldn't help but be speechless. In his opinion, the Shanghai City Card Maker Association is a bit rotten. Such a big trader is lurking so perfectly. God knows how many traders there are in secret. Now he can only issue gold and water cards to Bai Yuming and Yan Wenlei. After all, if these two people betray, then Shanghai City will just vote directly. Putting away his messy thoughts, Russell looked at the materials in his hand. Bronze level, individual combat armor, purple. This material, Russell thought silently about its use, is indeed quite interesting. He immediately stopped hesitating, took out his mobile phone and looked through the trading website. After a while, he found the materials he needed. Bronze level, portable power furnace, purple. Bronze level, primary artificial intelligence, purple. The two bronze level materials only cost more than 1 million. Russell immediately stopped hesitating and clicked on the order. The market for mechanical materials has not been very good due to the strong atmosphere of guts, ghosts and monsters in the Ming Dynasty. However, there is a better market in the Lighthouse country. As for what he wants to make, it is naturally the famous Mark III that appears in the novels of the major American comic chat groups. That's right, it takes into account comfort, safety, and speed, and is more suitable for Russell's current situation. Who said American comics are not two-dimensional? Russell naturally has some knowledge of this. Moreover, the power and performance of Mark III obviously did not exceed the bronze level. Soon, Guguji sent the materials to Russell's house. Russell drew a silver metal armor on the card according to his memory. Please start compiling your story. Mark III was made by Tony Shida, the famous distributor of Zeushin Novus gift pack. Mark III is 2 meters tall and weighs 90 kilograms, different from the ugly canned image of Mark I. Mark III has been greatly improved in appearance. The streamlined figure is pleasing to the eye, and the silver color is irresistible. To be honest, the original red and yellow color of Mark III was a bit too conspicuous in Russell's opinion. So he changed it to silver. Such small changes that do not involve the essence are within the allowable range. And unlike the freezing phenomenon of Mark II at high altitudes, Mark III has fixed this problem. The high-quality power source can provide it with long-term endurance. The arc reactor was obviously not something Russell could make now, so he could only make some minor changes. The Mark III's excellent weapon system allows it to provide sufficient firepower when facing danger. And its flight speed can even reach, just as Russell was about to fill in the speed of 2,740 kilometers per hour as set, a voice from the dark told him that if he wrote it, the card making would fail this time. 1,000. Russell thought tentatively. No. The feeling in the dark continued to tell him. 500. Still not. 200. Seeing no response, Russell wrote it in with trepidation. 200 kilometers per hour. And the excellent artificial intelligence system also solves the wearer's troubles with aiming and flying. Jarvis certainly couldn't do it either. In Russell's opinion, an artificial intelligence of Jarvis's level would have to be at least gold level to make one. Consciousness returned to reality, and Russell stared at the card in his hand in a daze. The experience in the mysterious space just now made him doubt whether he was the biological son of the mysterious space. But he is indeed a human. After all, as far as he knows, it is impossible for other people to get feedback when making cards. It all depends on their own judgment. Otherwise, there would not be so many people who failed to make cards. How can you bargain like him? It's a pity that no one answered Russell's doubts. If other people knew what happened to him, I'm afraid their eyes would turn red. However, Russell can understand that the flight speed is limited to 200. After all, the power reactor is not the original arc reactor. And if it can really reach nearly 3,000 kilometers per hour, he can just let the card wear the armor to create it. 200 kilometers per hour doesn't seem to be impossible, Russell thought secretly while looking at Jigoe Yuanai. Jigoe Yuanai shuddered when he saw Russell looking at him. Russell's eyes always made him feel that he had bad intentions. But it is indeed a good idea for the card to wear a mecha. Think about Nico Luffy or Six Paths Naruto wearing the space robot in Tengen Toppa. This is too outrageous and should not work, and it also requires the user to have spiral power. If it can really be made, Russell will go for it himself. After all, in the finale, the Gurren Lagann and the anti-spiral clan threw galaxies at each other. Then Eva. Imagine that the enemy finally broke through Eva's force field, and a Nico Luffy or Six Paths Naruto came out from it. Russell didn't dare to think about that scene. But is Eva a prop card or a creature card? Putting away his inner fantasies, Russell began to search for information about Mark III, Mark III, rank, bronze quality, gold category, prop skills, firepower system, arc pulse cannon, micro missile, decoy, double shoulder 6-barrel mini cannon. Features: enhanced composite armor. Excellent metal armor can provide good defense for the wearer. Artificial intelligence. Although it is a relatively low-level artificial intelligence, it can still provide good assistance to the wearer. Power furnace. A small portable power furnace that can provide up to 1 hour of endurance and can be recharged with mental power. Chain. Can form a chain card with the card, Tony Stark. There is actually a battery life limit. Russell had not thought of this. But it would be good if he could use his mental power to replenish it. Russell did not hesitate and summoned Mark III, and put it on himself. The silver armor was put on instantly. A soft female voice sounded in Russell's ears. At your service, my master. Chapter 59 PDD Refund Without Return Strategy. It's actually quite comfortable. After putting on the Mark III, Russell originally thought that this piece of iron would be hard and uncomfortable, but it turned out to be unexpectedly comfortable. With the help of artificial intelligence, Russell also successfully flew up. It's called assistance, but in fact, artificial intelligence took over the whole process. Russell can even sleep directly in it. But there is a bad thing about this. If the artificial intelligence is hacked, it will be over, although Russell can still control it manually. But fortunately, there are basically no mechanical masters in the Ming Dynasty. At least Russell has never heard of it. After experiencing it in the house, Russell took off the Mark III. At this time, Luffy was shouting and wanted to experience it too, so Russell summoned the Mark III and put it on Luffy. Watching Luffy yelling in midair, Russell fell into thought, this Mark III may not be available for a short time. After all, the materials I bought online this time are not enough to support me to make this card. That's right, Russell only bought a bronze level portable power furnace, purple, and the bronze level primary artificial intelligence, purple, and these two materials obviously cannot make Mark III. And the secret realms he had experienced before did not have any secret realms that could produce mechanical materials. After the incident with the Spirit Begging Society, he was much more cautious. Let's take it one step at a time. Russell made plans in his heart. After making Mark III, Russell only had 600,000 yuan left. He originally planned to make a medical biological card, but a sudden change disrupted his plan. But Mark III is not a loss. And I can also choose a bronze level secret realm to enter, so I can see if there is a suitable secret realm. Russell remembered the promise made by Yan Wenlei after the Talent Cup. To be honest, after experiencing what happened today, Russell was relieved. His current status meant that he didn't have to worry about the threat from the Qi Ling Society for the time being. After all, in the eyes of the Qi Ling Society, Russell was already one of their own. It's just that if the Qi Ling Society assigns tasks later, there might be some trouble. Russell thought with a frown. The next day, after school, Russell returned home and found Ma Liang already sitting on the sofa waiting for him. Why are you here? Russell was a little confused, but immediately thought of a possibility. The Qi Ling Society has arrangements. Ma Liang nodded. Seeing this, Russell's heart was shrouded in a haze. I didn't expect to be assigned so soon. He was ready. If the Qi Ling Society's arrangements were not good, he would report it overnight and run away. Anyway, he couldn't let Russell attack innocent people. Seeing Russell frowning, Ma Liang thought that he was afraid that the mission was too dangerous. Don't worry, the club will not assign you dangerous missions for the time being. After all, a genius like you, the club will not treat you as a disposable consumable. Ma Liang knew the mission very well. The club was obviously sending materials to Russell on the premise of increasing his docility. I'm afraid that one day in the future he will have to respectfully call Russell sixth brother. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but feel a little funny when looking at the still slightly immature boy in front of him. Shaking his head and throwing away the strange thoughts in his heart, Ma Liang handed a paper document to Russell. Why not use a mobile phone to transmit? It's too dangerous. And paper documents can be burned after reading. Russell took the materials and flipped through them. After a while, he looked up at Ma Liang. What does the club want me to find this person for? The paper said that it was a bronze-level card maker named Su Dalin, who was running some flesh trades. Because of the card maker, even if some lines were crossed, the association would turn a blind eye. However, in exchange, they have to work hard for the association when necessary. As for when the necessary moment is, it is the association that has the final say. Ma Liang shrugged his shoulders and said, you also know about the Talent Cup some time ago. The association naturally needs to develop some new offlines. This is one of the goals. You find a way to get the other party to sign this contract. As he said that, Ma Liang handed over a contract that Russell was very familiar with. What if the other party refuses to sign? Russell took the contract and asked casually. Then kill him. Ma Liang said nonchalantly, it's not a good thing anyway. Hearing Ma Liang's words, Russell showed a sarcastic smile on his face. It's as if the Qi Ling Club is a good thing. Ma Liang saw that Russell was still angry about what happened yesterday, and immediately threatened, don't think about killing him directly to fool the matter. Don't forget that you also signed the contract. Hearing this, Russell couldn't help but want to laugh in his heart. Sorry, we are really not the same kind of people. How do you know I want to kill him directly? Although he thought so in his heart, Russell pretended to be angry at Ma Liang's threatening words and said unhappily, I know. Seeing Russell's expression, Ma Liang also comforted him, don't be angry, the guild will reward you after the task is completed. In his opinion, the two of them are now completely on the same boat, and there is no need to make the relationship so stiff. And Ma Liang took out another thing from his pocket, a card. The guild has prepared a concealment item for you. After taking the card, the information emerged in Russell's mind. Hidden breath pearl, rank, bronze quality, blue category, item skills, hidden breath, those below the bronze level will not be aware of your existence. Hide tracks, electronic equipment below the bronze level cannot capture your traces. Note, the effect will no longer take effect when launching an attack. In Ma Liang's opinion, the Qi Ling Society really values Russell very much? How could the goods absorbed by the Qi Ling Society normally receive such treatment? They just let those low-level goods fend for themselves. After all, those low-level people can't get any important information, so if they die, they die. Okay, that's the thing. I'll come to you again at this time tomorrow. Ma Liang stood up, patted his body and said. After he finished speaking, he didn't care about Russell's reaction, and continued to say, I will find a reason to transfer Lao Ji tonight. Before midnight, whether you have completed the task or not, you must come back. To be honest, if Ma Liang was not afraid that Bai Yuming and Yan Wen would come to check his arrangement for Russell on a whim, he would have wanted to transfer Lao Ji away completely. However, thanks to Ma Liang's position as the president of the branch association, and because he had known Russell for a long time, he could come directly to the door openly. As for why it was someone of Ma Liang's level who personally contacted Russell, it was naturally because the Qi Ling Society didn't want others to know Russell's identity. Russell didn't believe that Ma Liang was the only traitor. Russell nodded slightly when he heard this, indicating that he understood. Watching Ma Liang leave, Russell breathed a sigh of relief. He was really afraid that the task would be to persecute good people. Fortunately, the target this time was not a good guy. In that case, you can only blame yourself for your bad luck. In the night, the silver armor soared into the sky and flew to an abandoned factory building on the coast. Chapter 60 I Am an Iron Man. At night, a factory building on the coast of Shanghai was brightly lit. Loud laughter, clinking of glasses, and foul language were heard from it. Boss, we got another batch of good stuff this time. A thin man with a rat-like face said to the man in the upper position in a flattering manner. The leader, known as the boss, took a sip of wine and said, it's all thanks to the brothers. As he said that, he pinched the white hair of the young woman next to him with tears on her face. The young woman was frightened, but she didn't dare to resist at all. These days, she saw with her own eyes that several women who were also in debt were thrown into brothels after the men in front of them vented their desires. Today, it was finally her turn. But no matter how scared she was, the young woman didn't dare to resist at all. After all, her son, who was just 1 year old, was still counting on this money to save his life. No education, no talent, no money. The child's father also ran away after she became pregnant. The young woman only had this equally young body. Feeling the greedy eyes of the gangsters present, the woman shrank her body. Why are you hiding? The leader grabbed the woman's neck and pressed her hard on the table. Hey. Just as the woman's breathing became increasingly difficult and her consciousness was drifting away, the door of the factory suddenly opened. Who is it? The leader immediately became alert. I saw a figure in silver armor standing at the door of the factory. Tisk, you make me feel more disgusted than the information. A disgusted voice sounded in the factory. The person who came was Russell. In fact, Russell always knew that as the other world of Daming, It was naturally impossible to be as harmonious as the blue star in his previous life. But until this moment, Russell saw the darkness buried deep underground. The leader on the opposite side was naturally Russell's target, Sudalin. Sudalin looked at the silver-armored man on the opposite side and asked coldly, "You are a card maker, right? Why are you looking for me? I just want to borrow something from you." Russell's faint voice sounded in the factory. Sudalin was a little confused when he heard this. Feeling the dangerous aura coming from Russell, he couldn't help but say, "Just tell me what you want to borrow. I will definitely satisfy you if I have it. Of course I'll borrow your head for a while." After he finished speaking, Zoro appeared in the field in an instant. It was a coincidence that Russell's newly made, Zoro, and Mark III, had never been known to anyone, just in time to conceal his identity. When Sudalin heard Russell's words, his face froze, and then he gritted his teeth and said, "Shameless thing." In an instant, a red figure holding a steel fork appeared in front of Sudalin. It was a demon. "Zoro, a quick fight." Zoro in the field heard this and instantly got ready. Seeing Zoro holding a knife in his mouth, Sudalin couldn't help but laugh. "Ha ha ha, what kind of card is this? Are you here to make fun of me?" Hearing the other party's ridicule, Zoro's eyes gradually turned cold. Ghost Key, 9 Swords, Ashura. The terrifying momentum emanated from Zoro. Sudalin, who was standing opposite him, seemed to see a ghostly figure in a trance. But the next moment, he was awakened by the movement of his own cards. Illusion. Sudalin was sweating all over at this moment, thinking in doubt. The demon in front of him had already spit out raging flames and rushed towards Zoro. Sudalin's men would naturally not sit and wait for death at this moment. Those who had cards summoned their cards, and those who had no cards just watched from the side. But as Russell's electromagnetic cannon blasted away several black iron-level cards, Sudalin's men stood still. Sudalin naturally also observed the power of Russell's Mark III, and his heart sank immediately. "It still depends on me." At this time, the flames spit out by the demon had already surged in front of Zoro. The terrifying heat burned Zoro's hair slightly curled. But one missed silver. As Zoro's voice sounded, the scene in front of him made Sudalin's pupils shrink instantly. The flames were cut open. The next moment, Zoro disappeared from the spot. When he reappeared, the demon behind him had burst into blood and gradually dissipated into the air. "What?" Sudalin's voice, which was shrill because of disbelief, rang out in the factory. He didn't expect that his bronze-level card would be defeated after only one encounter. This means that either the opponent's card quality is very high, or the silver-armored man on the opposite side is a silver-level card maker. Both results are difficult for him to accept. But no matter how difficult it is to accept, Sudalin put on a smile that was uglier than crying. "If you just let me go, I am willing to offer all my property with both hands." "And this is your own will, sir?" But in response to him, there was only a shrill white knife light. "It's because she was willing that I feel sick." As the knife light flashed, Sudalin ended his sinful life. "Don't move." At this time, a nervous and trembling voice caught Russell's attention. A gangster held a sharp knife against the woman's neck. However, a 6-barrel mini-cannon suddenly appeared on the shoulder of Mark III. With the sound of the machine gun, a bloody hole appeared on the gangster's forehead. Wouldn't it be better to wait for death obediently? Russell sighed, but then looked at the other gangsters present. "It's about time." As the machine gun kept turning, Russell began to harvest the lives of the gangsters present. He had no burden in his heart. The words he heard before entering the factory could make him sure that the people present were all scum. Killing them was also considered to be eliminating harm for the people. And the cleaner he killed, the less likely his identity would be exposed. After a while, the sound of the machine gun gradually stopped. At this moment, the factory was already full of corpses lying in all directions. Russell breathed a sigh of relief. It was the first time for him to kill so many people. But his recent experience made him accustomed to the bloody scene. Then next, it was the exciting time to touch the corpse. Unfortunately, to Russell's disappointment, all the people present were poor. But think about it, who would bring a lot of cash resources when opening an apartment? Russell sighed silently. Since he came to this world, he has not become rich by touching corpses like the protagonists of other novels. At this moment, the only living people present were Russell and the woman at the beginning. The woman covered her mouth desperately at this time, fearing that she would attract Russell's attention. Seeing this, Russell shook his head and walked towards the door of the factory. He knew that doing so might leave hidden dangers, but in the end he still couldn't do it. Fortunately, he had the help of the invisible breath pearl, back and forth, and he was shrouded in Mark III throughout the whole process, so he thought there would be no problem. "Sir, can you tell me your name?" Suddenly, a timid voice sounded behind him. Russell paused, and then threw a sentence without looking back. "I am Iron Man." Comma. Chapter 61 Planning. Russell returned home at around 9 o'clock that night. Anyway, he didn't say anything when he went to see Sudalin, and just killed him directly. If he really wanted to pull Sudalin into the Qi Ling Society, it might be a waste of time. Sitting on the sofa, Russell began to think about his current card construction. His current biological cards of Black Iron level are Ghost Hunter, Tsudokoku Yoriichi, Purple, Centipede, Kaneki Ken, Red, Pidgeot. Bronze level is naturally Luffy and Zoro. The prop cards are 3 Treasures, Breathless Orb, Mark III. However, as he was promoted to bronze level, Yoriichi and Kaneki appeared less and less frequently. Kaneki is okay, at least there is an advanced route. But Yoriichi is a bit troublesome. The original worldview is there, resulting in no advanced route after the production. But Russell now thinks about the instructions he saw in the book at the beginning. As long as the settings are reasonable and perfect, it can be successfully produced. In addition, the strange reaction of the mysterious space when Mark III was produced. Anyway, it's all made up. Maybe Yoriichi will have a chance to appear. In addition, Zoro, who was originally able to appear, can no longer appear in public because of the vest of the Spirit Begging Society. This makes Russell feel very insecure, and he is in urgent need of adding more trump cards. "It's just that I wrote Yoriichi to death before," Russell thought silently in his heart. If Yoriichi didn't die, there would be too many stories that could be continued. For example, Yoriichi traveled across the ocean to the mainland and met Wu Ming, the #1 martial artist at the time. But the style of Fengine doesn't seem to match. Russell's mind flashed through various stories from his previous life, and suddenly, he remembered the settings in Demon Slayer. "I remember that there seems to be a setting for ghosts in Demon Slayer." That's right, when Mr. Crocodile was creating Demon Slayer, it seems that there is indeed a setting for souls, but it's not very prominent. Then can it be followed by the God of Death? Russell touched his chin and muttered to himself. Swordsman, Death, Soul, the only thing that can be thought of is the God of Death. If it's really possible, then Zoro's upper limit is not a problem. What's wrong with the world's #1 swordsman taking out a Zanpakuto? Exclamation mark. However, when Russell looked at the remaining balance of more than 600,000 yuan in his card, he couldn't help but feel a little melancholy. A good cook cannot cook without rice. If he wants to upgrade Unite to bronze level, he must at least use 2 or 3 bronze level materials to fuse it before trying it. He can't even buy a purple bronze level material with more than 600,000 yuan now. But then, he remembered that he could enter the secret realm once more. I should make good use of this opportunity to make more money. Russell's original plan was to find a secret realm with a large output of medical materials, but now he has Mark III, which has good defense and running ability, so he is not in a hurry. After all, he is just a senior high school student on the surface, and he doesn't encounter many dangers on weekdays. Well, Russell himself doesn't have much confidence to say this. But now that he has joined the Spirit Begging Society, there are really not many dangers from the dark in Shanghai. Hey, have you heard that a serious murder occurred in Ning'an district? In the early morning, several students in the key class of Shanghai #1 middle school sat together and whispered. When Russell, who had just entered the classroom, heard this, his body stiffened, and then relaxed. But he just pricked up his ears and listened carefully to the discussion of his classmates. I know. The criminal is called Amu Elman. What Amu Elman? Russell was stunned when he heard it, but he immediately realized that it was I Am Iron Man. He was a little helpless at the moment, but he couldn't explain it out loud. After all, if his classmates asked him how he knew, Russell couldn't explain it. Yes, and I heard that he was wearing silver armor. Silver armor? Why did I hear it was a silver tights? What the hell is this? Russell's face darkened. His card is a 3-sword swordsman. Nonsense, it's obviously a 4-sword style. You are all wrong, my uncle told me it's a 99-sword style. Why did the uncle party show up? However, Russell was secretly glad that there was a correct answer in their discussion. Fortunately, no one other than the woman witnessed it directly. In addition, Russell had been wearing Mark 3, and Hidden Breath Pearl, so he had never exposed his appearance and whereabouts. Moreover, the card he used had never appeared before, so there was no danger of his identity being exposed. As for the fact that Su Daling's death would be exposed, Russell was not surprised. After all, so many people died and there was a surviving witness at the scene. Ma Liang could suppress it by force, but this would raise doubts. Anyway, Russell did not expose his identity, so it would be better to let Ma Liang stir up trouble in secret and guide the development of the matter. When he came to his seat, Russell saw Jiang Nangxi, who was reading a book. This reminded him of what the other party had said before about Uncle Jiang's strangeness. Russell had some guesses in his heart at this time. I'm afraid Master Bai and the others regarded Uncle Jiang as an insider. He had made such guesses before. After all, Jiang Wang was always involved in the incident. However, it didn't take long for Russell to rule out the other party's suspicion. After all, others didn't know what was going on, but he didn't know. Several times, he called Jiang Wang himself. And if Jiang Wang is really a traitor in the Qi Ling Society, I'm afraid Du Heng would have been living a life worse than death the moment he joined. Putting away his inner thoughts, Russell greeted Jiang Nangxi and asked, "How is Uncle Jiang doing recently?" Jiang Nangxi looked up and saw that it was Russell, so he responded, "Better than before. And I don't know if it's my illusion, I always feel that Dad has been much freer recently. He spends more time at home than before." Hearing this, Russell sighed in his heart. Sure enough, Jiang Nangxi's words made Russell more convinced of his guess. The association really regarded Uncle Jiang as a traitor. Otherwise, how could a gold-level card maker be unemployed in such a troubled time? In fact, the way to help Uncle Jiang set things right is also very simple. Russell can just secretly report Ma Liang as a traitor. The problem is that the Qi Ling Society is not a fool. Ma Liang's identity is obvious and few people know it. In addition, Russell had problems as soon as he joined the Qi Ling Society. Can't we tell who reported it at a glance? Even if we can't tell, as long as we check among the people who know about it, Russell can't escape. This is also the reason why Russell didn't choose to report it in the end. At least I have to wait until I figure out how many nails the Qi Ling Society has buried. No matter how confused his inner thoughts were, Russell still comforted him. You should rest more when you are old. Although Jiang Wang is only in his 40s, this is the only reason Russell can make up for it. He can't just tell Jiang Nangxi that your father is suspected of being an insider, so he is idle. However, Jiang Nangxi heard this and breathed a sigh of relief, complaining in a low voice, "Yes, I was busy before, and now I finally have time to spend more time with me." Seeing Jiang Nangxi's reaction, Russell couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. It's good that the other party can accept it. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelists. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 62 Ready to Try. In the evening, Ma Liang appeared at Russell's house on time again. Russell was now indifferent to the fact that NPCs would refresh in his home. Without paying attention to Ma Liang, Russell went to the kitchen to pour a glass of water. "You are quite murderous." At this time, Ma Liang's voice of surprise came from the living room. He didn't expect Russell to be so bold and kill Su Daling and his gang directly. As the chairman of the Ningen District Cardmaster Association branch, Ma Liang naturally knew what happened in the abandoned factory after the woman reported the case. After drinking a sip of water, Russell curled his lips and said, he didn't agree. "Why keep him? And everyone at the scene heard my words to recruit him. It's better to kill them all." Ma Liang looked at Russell meaningfully. He naturally knew that Russell had let a passerby woman in the factory go. Otherwise, the matter of Su Daling would not have been spread. But it's a small matter, so let him go. After all, Russell didn't reveal his identity. It can also be used to separate the identities of Russell, a high school student, and Russell, a member of the Qi Ling Society. Russell was particularly cautious when doing bad things. "Have you used the materials that Gu Wu gave you a few days ago?" Thinking of the woman's report, Ma Liang asked Russell curiously. "Yes." Russell admitted it straightforwardly, but he did not mean to call it out for Ma Liang to see. Ma Liang did not care, but was shocked by Russell's talent again. Fortunately, the other party is now on his side. By the way, what is a Muelman? Suddenly, Ma Liang remembered the woman's words and asked Russell with interest. Emu Elman. Russell was stunned, but then reacted and said helplessly, "It's Iron Man. I can't say my own name." Russell must have put on a vest when working for the Qi Ling Society. It happened that he had Mark III, so he casually said Iron Man. Unfortunately, there is no Iron Man in this world, and no one can understand what Russell means. Coincidentally, Tony Stark was also forced by the evil organization in Iron Man 1, and finally escaped by making Mark I, by hiding the materials provided by the evil organization. It is similar to Russell's current situation. It's just that Russell's tolerance for error is much higher than his. Ma Liang naturally couldn't dwell too much on such a meaningless issue, and immediately took out a material from his pocket. "This is the reward for this mission. Bronze level, Ghost, Gold." Russell took the material calmly, but he was secretly happy in his heart. Is there anything more enjoyable than getting something for free? Seeing Russell take the material, Ma Liang smiled, but he didn't forget to continue to make big promises to Russell. "You did a good job this time. Keep working hard next time, and there will be rewards in the club." "Okay, I have something to do, so I'll leave first." Russell didn't care about him, and sat on the sofa by himself. "It's a pillow." Looking at the material in his hand, Russell had a chance to try out his idea last night. It's just that he still needs a few prop materials. As soon as he said it, Russell asked for several days off from Shanghai No. 1 Middle School the next day. Anyway, for a student like him, it doesn't matter whether he goes to class or not. Shanghai No. 1 Middle School will naturally not hold him back on such things. Arriving at the Cardmaster Association branch in Ying'an District, Russell went straight to Ma Liang. When Yan Wenlei promised him that he could choose a bronze-level secret realm to enter, he told him that he could directly contact the Cardmaster Association in this area. And now Ma Liang is on the same boat with him. It's better to make the best use of it. The branch president must know more about the secret realm than ordinary staff. "Why are you here?" Ma Liang asked without raising his head while handling the documents in his hand. "We meet so frequently. If everyone didn't know that my wife is in poor health, I'm afraid they would think you are my son." Russell rolled his eyes when he heard this. "You came to me the first few times, okay? You don't care, so why should I care?" Hearing Russell's words, Ma Liang looked up and laughed dumbly. It would be great if he really had such a genius son. Unfortunately, his wife's health had not been good in the early years because of card making, and he felt sorry for her and was reluctant to let her have children. But then, he became serious and asked Russell why he came. "Tell me, what do you want to talk to me about?" In Ma Liang's impression, Russell was the kind of person who would not come to the temple for no reason. He must have come for a serious matter this time. "Did the Elite Cup Association reward me with entering the bronze-level secret realm before? This is why I came this time." Russell pulled out a stool and sat on it. Hearing this, Ma Liang was stunned. So fast. In his opinion, Russell had already made 3 bronze-level cards, so there was no need to be so anxious. "No money, brother." Russell showed a trace of helplessness between his eyebrows. Now there was only 600,000 cold dollars in his card. Ma Liang didn't expect this to be the reason, but he immediately said with a wry smile, "Last time, the club wanted to give you cash directly. It's just that it's hard for a student like you to explain the source of a large amount of unknown funds. In the end, we chose to give you a set of materials." Ma Liang was talking about the reward for yesterday's mission. Russell could understand, and not having money was just an excuse he made up. He couldn't just say that he wanted to improve his strength and get rid of the Qi Ling Club as soon as possible. Although it's very happy to get the will of the Qi Ling Club now, it's not a long-term solution after all. "I know, so I came to you, didn't I?" Russell nodded slightly, indicating that he understood Ma Liang's difficulties. Seeing that Russell could understand, Ma Liang didn't say anything more and asked directly, "What are your requirements for the secret realm? I'll help you find it. It's best to find a secret realm with more sword materials." Ma Liang heard this and began to search on the computer. Speaking of the several secret realms that Russell has entered now, he hasn't seen any item materials. Item materials are usually generated when the card master approaches certain special items in the secret realm. Then they are placed on a blank card and become an item material. Russell had never encountered any of the previous secret realms. The secret realm that required more sword materials this time was naturally for the advancement of Yoriichi Tsugikuni. "I just don't know if it will succeed." After a while, Ma Liang found several secret realms that met Russell's requirements. He turned the computer screen slightly to face Russell. Ma Liang motioned for him to look at it himself. Holding the mouse, Russell began to look through the information provided by Ma Liang. The bronze-level secret realm, sword casting villa, mainly produces bronze-level materials, dynasty standard swords. The bronze-level secret realm, sword lake, mainly produces bronze-level materials, conscience. The bronze-level secret realm, magic sword rebellion, mainly produces bronze-level materials, sword of rebellion. Chapter 63, Sword Lake. Among the several secret realms given by Ma Liang, Russell saw the secret realm of Sword Lake at a glance. After all, the material, conscience, produced by Sword Lake, is very suitable as the prototype of Zanpakuto. In the setting of Death God, Zanpakuto is composed of the soul of the holder himself, and the power is released through the dialogue of the mind. At present, Russell has a bronze level, ghost, gold, in his hand. This material with sword and soul elements is naturally in perfect harmony with the story that Russell is going to write. Let's take this, Sword Lake. Thinking of this, Russell no longer hesitated and told Ma Liang his choice. Seeing Russell's choice, Ma Liang didn't say much, and immediately nodded slightly, and said, "Okay, I have registered for you. Come to the association tomorrow, and someone will take you there." Secret realms that the association has already controlled are basically welfare secret realms. Because the hard bones in it have been cleared at the beginning. What is left now are all captive monsters that the association deliberately left behind to produce materials continuously. Yes, demons can also reproduce. This is something the association discovered a long time ago. As for whether demons and humans can reproduce, it is still unknown. Anyway, there is no such case in Russell's memory. So if a card maker is allowed to enter this kind of welfare secret realm, it is basically a single person. Unlike the secret realms that are still being explored, they all go in groups. Of course, some strong people also like to go alone, and the association still follows personal wishes in this regard. Hearing Ma Liang's words, Russell nodded slightly, indicating that he knew, and left the Ningen District Association branch. The next morning, Russell got up early, came to the association to get permission to enter the secret realm, and then got on the car and went to the Jianhu secret realm. This was his first time to enter a secret realm alone. It would be a lie to say that he was not nervous. But having 3 bronze-level cards in his hand still gave him enough confidence. Even if Soren and Mark III cannot be seen by people. But if you are really in a life and death crisis, you should still use it. You can't let a living person hold his urine to death. Just as Russell closed his eyes to rest, the car had already arrived at the Sword Lake secret realm. "Sir, we've arrived." Russell opened his eyes as the driver called softly. It was time to get the next material for Unai. The Sword Lake secret realm first appeared 6 years ago. The main output of the secret realm is bronze-level biological materials, sword seekers, and item materials, self-asking. At the beginning, the demons in this secret realm also tried to invade Blue Star. But at that time, the Ming dynasty was far from being as short-handed as it is now, and a small bronze-level demon was quickly suppressed. Since then, Sword Lake has become the back garden of the association, for card makers to take whatever they want. In front of the entrance to the secret realm, Russell recalled the information provided by the association, took a deep breath, and stepped into the door. In a blink of an eye, the world has changed. Russell stabilized his mind and began to observe the surrounding environment. It's just as the association said. Russell was now in a dark bamboo forest. Just as he was looking around, 2 card makers came to him quickly. These 2 were naturally the card makers stationed in the Sword Lake by the association. For secret realms like this that have been controlled by the association, card makers will naturally be arranged to monitor in real time to prevent demons from escaping the control of the association. Just like the 1,000-foot secret realm that Russell entered for the first time. "You must be Russell." The leader greeted Russell, but did not introduce himself. After all, in the eyes of the 2, Russell and they might not have much intersection in the future. As for how talented Russell is, what does it have to do with them? Anyway, the card makers who enter this low-level secret realm to guard are basically pensioners with no future. There is no such elixir in this world that can directly improve the strength of card makers. Even if he really flatters him, Russell can't feed people directly to Dowdy like a certain ho-ho. By the way, I saw in the information that this is your first time to enter the welfare secret realm alone. Regardless of whether the association has told you about it or not, I have to reiterate the rules to you. We will give you a map later. You can choose any place on the map where the demons gather to harvest, but remember, don't kill them all, you have to leave some seedlings. After all, you are not the only one who will enter this secret realm. Russell was stunned when he heard this, but he immediately realized why the association would make such a rule. After all, it is for sustainable development. Otherwise, if a bronze or silver card maker comes and kills all the demons here, this secret realm will be useless. Russell immediately nodded to show that he understood the association's regulations. Seeing that he had no objection, the leader handed Russell a map. This is the map, and the information is already marked on it. After receiving the map, Russell thanked them. Seeing that the two had no intention of continuing the conversation, they left without saying too much. Following the instructions on the map, Russell came to a lake. Sword Lake, Sword Lake, there must be a lake, and according to the markings on the map, it is obviously not small, about 3,000 square kilometers. This size would take Russell a long time to fly in. Mark 3. There are many islands in the lake. At the beginning, there were many family-style monsters on all the islands. But after being cleared by the association, now only a few large islands have some captive monsters left. As for why it is called Sword Lake, the reason is that the bottom of the lake is covered with densely packed swords of different styles. There are no monsters, but in the center of the entire lake, there is a broken sword that is obviously different from the other swords. The association tried various methods but failed to pull out the sword. There were also high-level card makers who came here to observe, but in the end they found nothing, and then nothing happened. Fortunately, Russell's target is not a broken sword. His target material, self-reflection, is not at the bottom of the lake, but is nurtured by the monster family in the Sword Lake. At this time, the lake's surface in the early morning was covered with hazy mist, making it difficult to see far away. Looking at a boat on the shore, Russell knew that this was the transportation prepared by the Association for Card Makers to enter the secret realm, but he didn't eat it. Glancing at the monitoring equipment next to him, Russell summoned Pidgeot and soared into the sky. In mid-air, Russell selected a direction according to the information on the map, and then drove Pidgeot to fly quickly to the destination. The information on the map was: Qi family, 11 black iron level demons, 2 bronze level demons, self-examination, has matured. Chapter 64 The 13 members of the Qi family. Father, life is getting harder and harder. A young man took a sip of wine and complained to the middle-aged man in front of him. The middle-aged man was somewhat helpless when he heard this. Life and death have fallen into the hands of others. What else can we say? Hearing the words of the middle-aged man, the young man angrily slammed the table. If it weren't for your excellency. But then, he saw the monitoring equipment flashing red light, and held back his words. The middle-aged man naturally knew what the young man wanted to say, and immediately glared at him. Silence. Glancing at the camera with fear, the middle-aged man whispered to the young man, I know what you want to say. It's just, hey. A gloomy look appeared on the young man's face. If it weren't for the 4 evil gods. But as the middle-aged man's expression became more and more serious, the young man's voice gradually became lower, until there was no more words. At this moment, the middle-aged man said coldly, Niner, you should know what you can say and what you can't say. You are lucky to be safe and sound at this moment, but if the pigs in this world really hear it, I think you know the end. Hearing the reminder of the middle-aged man, the young man called Niner gradually turned pale. Seeing that the young man listened to his words, the middle-aged man naturally did not continue to preach, but just comforted him. Okay, your father doesn't want to scare you. I think the pigs in this world don't have time to care about this place now. As he said, he showed a helpless expression on his face and whispered, and even if there is no that, your excellency will only be equal to the kings under his command. Otherwise, he would not have died. The middle-aged man said silently in his heart. It's just a pity for the strong man of his Qi family. The young man was stunned when he heard the words, but then he realized that the middle-aged man was telling the truth. But it was precisely because it was the truth that made him more depressed. Lies are not sharp blades, but the truth is a sharp knife. If His Majesty had come with them, they wouldn't be in this situation now. They would be the pigs of this world. Or even if His Majesty hadn't come, as long as the ancestor of the Qi family was still here, they wouldn't be so aggrieved. It's a pity that all the strong men of Jian who died with His Majesty, only 2 or 3 of them, big cats and small cats, were left. No, not even the big cats were left. With his back to the surveillance camera, the middle-aged man dipped his fingers in water and wrote gently on the table. What do the other families say? When the young man saw the words written by the middle-aged man, a look of disdain flashed across his face, but then he drank a sip of wine and said, "Just muddle through." The middle-aged man naturally understood what the young man meant and continued to write. Are they going to live like this forever? At this time, the young man looked at the sky with some melancholy and said, "Just a dog that has lost its home." Anyone who didn't read the words written by the middle-aged man would think that the young man was talking about himself. A trace of anger flashed across the middle-aged man's face, but then his body, which had been straight, hunched down at this moment. A dog that has lost its home. The middle-aged man sighed softly. What the young man said was not what they said. Unfortunately, with the arrival of the time agreed by the Lord, and, even if the Lord is dead, the advent is inevitable. Even if they have made a great deal of preparation, it is useless. They can't even escape. All those who escaped returned to Jianhu at the moment of the advent. Just as the middle-aged man and the young man were drinking in silence, a man ran quickly into the yard and said in a hurry, "Master, disaster is coming." Hearing this, the middle-aged man and the young man looked at each other. Is this day finally the turn of the Qi family? After a long time, Russell rode on Pidgeot and slowly landed on the island in front of him. Luffy and the other two appeared in front of him in an instant. This is it. Looking at the slightly quiet island in front of him, Russell breathed a sigh of relief, his cold voice without any emotion, "Qi family." If he was acting as Iron Man, Russell could naturally use the Hidden Breath Pearl to secretly kill all the demons on this island. Unfortunately, his current identity prevented him from revealing the Hidden Breath Pearl. If he used the Hidden Breath Pearl in this secret realm, Russell would simply have the words "I am a member of the Qi Ling Society" written on his forehead. But apart from the Hidden Breath Pearl, Russell had no other means to hide his tracks, so it would be better to go directly to the door openly. There are only 2 bronze-level demons, and the bronze level at the beginning of this secret realm have long been killed. The current bronze level have only grown up in recent years and are very weak. It is all written in the information provided by the association. But if there is really a genius among the demons, Russell will directly call out Zoro. After all, Zoro not only has 3 sword styles, but also 1 sword style and 2 sword styles to fool around, and can also trigger the bond with Luffy's Straw Hat Pirates. When Russell arrived at the gate of the Qi family, there were already 13 demons standing there in a row. After seeing Russell, the middle-aged man in the lead gradually looked ugly, card maker. Although it was a question, the middle-aged man was extremely sure of the identity of the person in front of him. The middle-aged man naturally knew the existence of card makers. After all, when there came that year, they were ready to fight to the death to invade the blue planet. It became a natural sea for fish to leap and the sky for birds to fly, and there was no longer any threat of death. Unfortunately, the plan was shattered by the card makers belonging to the association at the beginning. Even after the Sword Lake was suppressed, there were card makers who came to the secret realm to try to pull out the broken sword. The mighty power reminded the middle-aged man of his own ancestor. Blocking the people who were ready to move behind him, the middle-aged man suppressed the murderous intent that rose in his heart towards Russell, and said with difficulty, "This sir, I volunteer to sacrifice my life, can you let them go?" The middle-aged man already knew the reason why a card maker came to this island. After all, through self-examination, he has communicated with other families over the years. But unfortunately, Russell ignored him. After entering the secret realm, he kept the contents of the book in mind at all times. Don't listen to or believe what the demons say. Who knows if the other party is trying to let you relax your vigilance so that you can do something dirty. And why does the middle-aged man in front of him think he is qualified to negotiate with him? Kisu. Russell looked at the middle-aged man opposite and said his name in his heart. Then, he cast his eyes on the young man next to Kisu. Kinian. That's just right, so I don't have to bother looking for him again. These 2 are the 2 bronze-level demons in the Qi family recorded in the association's information. Let's do it. Seeing that the target is here, Russell said softly to Luffy and others in front of him. Seeing Luosu's arrogant and insolent look, Kisu's face gradually became ugly. Don't underestimate me. Sword. As he spoke, a white light shot out from the house. Kisu grasped the white light and looked at Luosu coldly. But Luosu just stared at the item in Kisu's hand. Bronze level item material, self-examination. This was the first time Luosu encountered an item material. Chapter 65. As soon as I entered the door, I saw Chang Wei beating Lai Fu. Seeing the main person of this trip appear, Russell immediately raised his spirits. At this time, Jiguo Yuanai held a knife to protect Russell. To be honest, Jiguo Yuanai, who is at the Black Iron level, is not good enough as a defense at this time. But in the case that Zoro cannot appear, this is already the best solution. On the field, Kaneki faced the Black Iron level demon minions present, and Luffy faced Kisu and Kinian. When Kaneki dragged the centipede Kagoon to attack, facing the terrifying appearance of Kaneki, the Qi family members drew their swords to protect themselves. The scene on the field was a little chaotic for a while. If you only look at the style of painting and don't understand the situation, it seems that the demon of the evil way has hit the door of the righteous knight. Unfortunately, the facts are completely the opposite. At least for Russell as a human being, it is completely the opposite. As for whether the demons on the opposite side are good or evil, it has nothing to do with him. With the surging centipede Kagoon rushing towards the Qi family demons, Kinian on the side could no longer hold back. A silver-white sword flashed by in an instant, splitting Kaneki's Kagoon in two. A trifle. Kinian's disdainful voice sounded in the field. He thought the card maker on the other side was so terrifying, but he didn't expect it to be so vulnerable. However, it was mentioned before that Kaneki's RC cells now do not need to be replenished by eating some unspeakable things, but by Russell's mental power. And Russell's mental power now, after a long and hard meditation, has already been completely different from the mental power when Kaneki was just created. So, in just a breath, Kaneki's severed Kagoon has been restored to its original state. On the opposite side, the father and son of the Qi family saw this scene and couldn't help frowning. This white-haired devil doesn't make me feel much threat. Kisu thought secretly in his heart, but this recovery ability is a bit tricky. Just when they were distracted, several fists with afterimages were approaching them. It was Luffy, and Luffy would naturally not watch a great opportunity slip away. Bang! Kisu and the other two held their swords horizontally in front of them, resisting Luffy's attack. However, their feet left a long scratch on the ground, and the great force coming from the sword almost shook the sword out of their hands. Don't be distracted during the battle. Luffy pressed his straw hat with his right hand and said calmly. Feeling the terrifying pressure coming from Luffy, Kisu's eyes couldn't help but turn cold. Niner, fight quickly and get rid of this guy first. Even though his thoughts turned around, in reality, only a moment passed. The next moment, the dazzling silver-white sword light suddenly lit up. Swoosh! The shrill sound of the sword rang out in the field. But it was useless. In the stunned eyes of Kisu and the other two, Luffy rotated his legs and made himself fly up like a UFO to avoid their attack. Rubber jet whip. In mid-air, Luffy's whole body turned slightly red, and his right leg was like a long whip, kicking Kisu's head with unmatched power. Boom! Kisu flew out like a ragdoll, fell to the ground, and died. Father. Kinian's eyes were bloodshot at this moment. He didn't expect that his beloved father would lose his life after just one encounter. He is indeed very weak. Looking at the scene in front of him, Russell couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. These two bronze-level demons are indeed pitifully weak, not like Moore at all, who took 3 attacks from Luffy's third gear before dying. Kinian roared with impotence and rage at this time, but then stared at Russell with red eyes. Russell thought to himself, sure enough, demons also know the principle of capturing the king first. Just as Russell was about to summon Mark III to protect himself, Luffy had already seen through Kinian's intention. Rubber jet bullet. Luffy instantly flashed in front of Russell to protect him. His right fist drew an exaggerated arc and hit Kinian on the opposite side. Boom! The scattered smoke obscured Russell's vision. It was not until the smoke gradually dissipated that Russell could see Kinian's miserable appearance. At this time, Kinian was almost out of breath, spitting blood, and said unwillingly, "Pig. If it weren't for the death of Jeonzun at the hands of the 4 evil gods, how could we allow you pigs to be kept in captivity?" That one. However, before he finished speaking, Kinian exploded into blood mist like fireworks. Russell was also confused by the sudden change. What is this demon talking about? What Jeonzun? What 4 evil gods? And that one Russell was full of doubts at this time. But he soon realized that Kinian said some very important information, but he knew nothing about it at present. Burying his doubts deep in his heart, when Russell was about to check the situation of the Jinmu battle, he suddenly realized a very critical thing. Qi Ling was now being messed around by an unknown force. It was obvious that he had lost a material. Although I don't know what quality it is at least a bronze-level material. This is all money. Thinking of this, Russell's face darkened. Destroying someone's financial resources is like killing their parents. Although I don't know who it is, I will never forgive you. The Battle of Jinmu on the side also ended early. Otherwise, how can it be called a welfare secret realm? The demons in it are indeed pitifully weak. However, due to the regulations of the association, Russell deliberately let Jinmu leave 6 demons, 3 men and 3 women, which is just right, in line with sustainable development. Seeing Qi Ling exploded into blood mist, the 6 demons left by Russell couldn't help trembling. Finally, the instinct of survival overwhelmed the inexplicable desire to attack. The 6 people knelt on the ground and said to Russell, "My lord, we really can't say it, we will become like this if we say it as they said it." The 6 people couldn't help but kowtow. But Russell didn't intend to ask further questions. You know, curiosity kills the cat. At present, with his strength, the more he knows, the faster he will die. In his opinion, what Qi Ling said is obviously related to the reason for the advent of the secret realm. He doesn't believe that the association has never obtained this kind of information before. It's just that the information is very important, so similar information has never been released in public. Without responding to these demons who were begging for mercy, Russell collected the materials on the scene. Bronze level, Sword Seeker, purple. Bronze level, Self-asking, gold. Black iron level, Sword-bearing servant, blue, 5. These are the materials he got. Excluding self-asking, which is somewhat useful to Russell, the remaining materials can be sold for 800,000 to 900,000. It's a pity that Qi Ling didn't keep his mouth shut, so I lost a piece of material in vain. Thinking of Qi Ling who just blew himself up, Russell still felt a little regretful. But they should have some good things at home. But then, Russell turned his attention to the Qi family mansion. Let Kaneki keep an eye on them, and Russell took Luffy and the others into the Qi family mansion. Chapter 66 Speculations and Diaries. Walking into the Qi family mansion, Russell could clearly see that the house was rebuilt later. After all, some places were really rough. It was the kind of thing that Party A would not pay for the project after seeing it. But Russell figured out the reason in an instant. When Jianahu first came, it was obvious that the association carried out an iron-blooded suppression. The suppression process is not a dinner party, and naturally there is blood and fire. It is normal for the original Qi family mansion to be burned down by a fire. So, they are not all poor ghosts. Russell thought to himself while touching his chin. However, since he is here, Russell said the 4-character truth to himself in his heart. Passing through the main hall of the front yard, Russell came to the backyard. Since there were not many people left in the Qi family, the backyard was not big, and Russell saw the house where the father and son of the Qi family lived at a glance. After all, compared with other buildings with some Syrian war-damaged style, the 2 rooms in the middle are more exquisite. But it's just a little. Shaking his head and throwing away his wild thoughts, Russell pushed open the door in the middle. The furniture in the room was complete, but there were no other items besides the furniture. And these furniture were obviously remade later. Not to mention the gold and silver treasures that Russell imagined. A Russell's sigh sounded in the silent room. Looking carefully at the places around where there might be hiding places, Russell walked slowly to the bed, sat on it, and began to think about what Qi Ling had just said. At this time, Russell's knuckles gently tapped on the bedboard, making a crisp doo-doo-doo sound. The water in this world is deeper than I thought. Although Qi Ling's words did not give much information, there is a saying. The fewer words, the bigger the problem. Swordmaster. 4 evil gods. Russell muttered the 2 names that Qi Ling had just said. But these 2 were obviously big shots, and they were still far away from him. And there was also the culprit who caused Qi Ling to self-destruct. Combined with the contextual information given by Qi Ling, the advent of the secret realm is obviously controlled by an invisible big hand behind everything. Thinking of this, Russell remembered some of the information he had obtained before. First of all, in the Black Flag secret realm, when he first entered, he saw the ridiculously large sea chart on the ship. And the size of the Black Flag secret realm obviously only accounts for a part of it. Remember Joyu told him to treat those as the imagination of demons. But according to the information obtained now, these secret realms were in the same world before. Or are there connections between secret realms? Russell made a silent inference in his heart. Then Mr. Bai of JK Credit said that the Qi Ling Society just wanted Shanghai to be as chaotic as possible. Chaos, the most intuitive manifestation, is the reduction of population. Russell still remembers that the textbook says that the more uninhabited the place is, the easier it is to produce secret realms. In addition, he now knows that the advent of the secret realm is obviously controlled by someone, or a demon, behind the scenes. He had a bold idea in his heart. Could Qi Ling be preparing to summon a great secret realm directly in Shanghai? But can the secret realm really be guided by humans? And what benefits does summoning a secret realm bring to them? He had never heard of any related cases. Burying his guess deep in his heart, Russell let out a long sigh. No matter what, I am now lurking in the Qi Ling Society. If they are really preparing to do something big, there must be some disturbances. Indeed, if the Qi Ling Society is really preparing to do such a big thing, it is impossible that there will be no movement at all. If it were not for the possibility that the Qi Ling Society would assign him the task of killing innocent people, Russell would not want to leave the Qi Ling Society. After all, there are rewards to be taken, and he can also get information in secret. Putting away his thoughts, Russell was about to get up, but suddenly he discovered something. Yuichi, please cut this bed open. With a bright flash of Yuichi's knife, the wooden bed in the room was instantly split into two, revealing its empty interior. It really exists, Russell muttered to himself. He just found that the sound of his knocking on the bedboard was a little wrong. If it was made of solid wood, it shouldn't be a crisp sound, but a dull sound. That's why he asked Yuan to cut the bed open. What is this? Russell walked to the bed, bent down and picked up a book. He flipped the book casually, and it was filled with dense fonts that Russell didn't recognize. Remember what I said before? The reason why humans and demons on Blue Star can communicate without obstacles is because of the unknown rules. Both can naturally understand each other's words as their own language. It's not that the two use the same language. So Russell was not surprised that the words he didn't recognize appeared in the book. After flipping through a few pages, Russell gradually came up with a guess. This can't be a diary. After all, the format of the book was familiar to Russell. XXXXXXXXXXXX, but which normal person would write a diary? Russell silently complained in his heart, oh no, he is not a normal person, he is a demon. But because he couldn't understand the text, this was just his unilateral guess. Shaking his head, Russell put the diary in his arms. I can't understand it now, I can only see if I have the chance to understand it in the future. After searching the main house, Russell went to search several other houses. It's a pity that no other demons have the habit of writing diaries. It's time to go. Calling out Pidgeot, Russell prepared to leave the secret realm. After all, the mission of this trip has been completed, and the association also stipulates that you can only go to one demon gathering place. The Qi family that Russell chose is already the richest place. If Qi Nian hadn't self-destructed, he would have earned 2 or 3 million this time. In the air, since there are no flying demons in the Sword Lake secret realm, there is naturally no surveillance in the air. Can you go higher? But for the sake of safety, Russell still touched Pidgeot's head and whispered, fly forward while increasing the altitude, don't let people see that you are deliberately flying high. With a soft cry of Pidgeot, Russell flew higher and higher until the hazy clouds obscured his figure. Almost done, thank you, Pidgeot. The next moment, Russell used the anonymous bead before summoning Mark III. Xiaodi, please record the text of this book. Xiaodi was the name Russell gave to the artificial intelligence of Mark III. And what he had to do was to record the contents of the book. The book must be handed in. After all, there were surveillance cameras inside and outside the Qi family's house. This was why he flew high before summoning Mark III. As for why he didn't use his mobile phone to take pictures, Russell was naturally afraid that after handing it in, the association might format his phone. To be on the safe side, it would be better to let Mark III scan it. After a while, the scan was over. After releasing Mark III, Russell rode Pidgeot in the direction he came from. Chapter 67, 1 Intelligence, 2 Benefits. As expected, when Russell came out of the secret realm, the person in charge of the base had already been waiting here with the staff. Student Russell, right. The person in charge saw Russell, looked him up and down, and said with a smile, Student Russell, did you get a book-like item in the secret realm? Sure enough. Russell heard this and sighed inwardly. Fortunately, he had made preparations in advance and backed up the contents of the book. Nodding slightly, Russell took out a book he thought was a diary from his arms and handed it to the person in front of him. Seeing that Russell was so sensible, the person in charge naturally would not embarrass him. He took the book and said, "Student Russell, don't worry, these are the regulations of the association. But since we took something from you, the association will naturally not treat you unfairly. 1 million, it will be transferred to your card tonight." Hearing this, Russell was slightly stunned. He thought he would be rewarded with materials or something like that, but he didn't expect to be given cash directly. But he would not have any objections. After all, it was something that was taken for free. Who would not want it? "Thank you." After saying thank you, Russell was ready to leave the Jianhu base. At this moment, the person in charge stopped him with a slightly apologetic look on his face, saying, "Excuse me, Mr. Luo, we still have to check your phone." "As you should." Russell nodded calmly, took out his phone and handed it to the other party. In his heart, he secretly sighed, "Fortunately, I used the Mark III to make a backup in advance instead of taking a photo with my phone." In Russell's eyes, he saw the other party connecting his phone to a machine he had never seen before. Soon, the screen next to the machine began to list the information in Russell's phone. Seeing this scene, Russell was not thinking about the problem of the book, but about Ma Liang's previous task of arranging the killing Hu. Fortunately, Ma Liang was cautious enough to use paper materials, otherwise he would be exposed today. Soon, the inspection was over. The staff nodded slightly to the person in charge, indicating that there was no problem. The person in charge handed the phone back to Luo Su, saying, "Thank you for your cooperation, Luo. It's not formatted, so I don't have to reinstall the software." After taking the phone, Luo Su sighed inwardly, and then asked casually, "Can I know the content of this book after it is translated?" The person in charge was slightly stunned when he heard this, but he immediately understood that Russell was just curious about the content. "However, I'm sorry, Luo, even I am not qualified to know the content inside, so..." the person in charge said with a slight apology on his face. Luo Su naturally knew what he had not finished saying, and immediately stopped pestering him, said goodbye and went home. Back home, Luo Su sat on the sofa and looked at the prompt on the phone in a daze. "Your account was credited with 1 million yuan at 1817 on December 4th. That's pretty fast." Thinking for a moment, Luo Su sent a message to the contact in his phone marked as Ma Liang, "Uncle Ma, I cooked dinner tonight, do you want to come?" That's right, Luo Su was going to hand over the diary information to the Qi Ling Society. After all, he didn't know whether his every move was monitored by the Qi Ling Society. He also didn't know whether there were any high-level insiders in the association who could access such confidential information. It would be better not to take chances and tell the Qi Ling Society the information directly. Maybe he could get some rewards. At this moment, Ma Liang, who was accompanying his wife in the hospital, received the message and was stunned. Why did Russell ask me to come over for dinner? But the next moment he realized that the other party might have something important to do and it was inconvenient to talk on the phone, so he asked him to go over indirectly. Putting away the phone, Ma Liang squeezed his wife's hand lying on the bed apologetically and said, "I'm sorry Yinger, there are some things at work that I need to go over to deal with." The middle-aged woman called Yinger smiled on her pale face. "Go, Liang, work is important." Ma Liang was silent for a moment, kissed the middle-aged woman on the head, and turned to leave. On the bed, the middle-aged woman looked at Ma Liang's back, which now looked a little old, and her originally smiling face was gradually filled with worries. Dong 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 at 6:40, there was a knock on Russell's door. Russell opened the door and stepped aside to let Ma Liang in, saying, "You're quite fast." Ma Liang went to the kitchen to pour a glass of water and teased Russell, "Our classmate Luo is treating us to a meal. I dare not neglect it." "Just a meal." Russell rolled his eyes and said unhappily, "There's only bread in a lunchbox bought from a convenience store. You can eat it if you want." Seeing Russell's look, Ma Liang laughed out loud, but then said seriously, "You must have something important to tell me." "Tell me. Come with me." Hearing Ma Liang talking about business, Russell stopped joking and took him to the study to summon Mark III. Under Ma Liang's gaze, Russell first unplugged the network cable, then reinstalled the system, and finally sent the information stored in Xiaodi to the computer. Russell motioned to Ma Liang to take a look. "The thing is here, take a look." "Such a big deal?" It seems that the thing is very important. Seeing Russell tinkering with it, Malayan couldn't help but be curious about what it was that was worth Russell's trouble. However, Malayan did not check the information on the computer immediately, but looked at Mark III with a little surprise. Your prop card is not bad. You wore this set of hidden identity in the mission that day. Russell nodded slightly to confirm Malayan's guess. This prop card is a bit like the way of the Lighthouse Country, but it looks a little more sophisticated than theirs. Malayan said in amazement, no wonder Guru and the others want to recruit you so much. Speaking of Guru, Russell was silent for a while, and then changed the subject and said, you should take a look at the goods first. Seeing that Russell was not interested, Malayan stopped dawdling and immediately checked the information on the computer. However, as the mouse wheel slid, Malayan's expression became more and more serious. After a long time, Malayan turned his head to look at Russell and asked solemnly, you haven't shown this thing to anyone else, right? But the next moment, he rejected his doubts. After all, Russell was so cautious just now, he shouldn't show it to others. Hearing Malayan's question, Russell nodded slightly. No, I just got it in the secret realm, and it was originally taken away by the association. Malayan was relieved when he heard it. That's good. I will tell the association about this matter. You will definitely get the reward. Chapter 68 Death God X Tsugumi Yuchi. Hearing that there was a reward, Russell instantly became excited. His hard work was not in vain. By the way, Uncle Ma, what is this book about? Now that the benefits were in hand, Russell was ready to satisfy his curiosity. Malayan stared at the screen and fell into silence. After a long time, he whispered, telling you now would harm you. You will know later. The riddle man, go to hell. Seeing that Malayan was not going to tell him the content and even acted as a riddle man, Russell couldn't help but be a little speechless. But he calmed down immediately. After all, these were all fake, and only the real rewards were real. Seeing that Russell had no intention of asking further questions, Malayan breathed a sigh of relief and just silently muttered a name, Jinping. Taking out a spare mobile phone from his arms, Malayan imported the information from the computer into it. After a while, the information transmission was completed, and Malayan stood up. No need to send it, I did a good job this time. Russell leaned against the wall and asked, when will I get the reward? Malayan walked out of the study and said, we have to wait until the people from the Qi Ling Society get these things. Watching Malayan leave his house, Russell slumped on the sofa. It's finally over. Then next, it's time to make a card. That's right, he was going to try to make Jagoyan one level higher. But before that, he had to buy another material to be safe. But after all, it was Russell's first attempt, and he was mentally prepared for the possibility of failure. At present, he has 1.6 million in cash on hand, and with the materials he was going to sell in Sword Lake, the total is about 2.5 million. Opening his mobile phone, Russell began to look through the appropriate materials. The body of the god of death can use ghost, and the Zanpakuto can use conscience. I always feel like something is missing. Just as Russell was thinking hard, a flash of inspiration flashed through his mind. Yes, the knives, the ghosts, and the slashing fists are the abilities that the god of death has. Originally, Russell had been looking through the magic materials. But just now he realized that the most striking thing about the original work was the terrifying swordsmanship talent of Yoriichi Tsugikuni. But the Yoriichi Tsugikuni that he has now is not very outstanding in this aspect because the materials are not good at the beginning. And there are many strong people among the god of death who don't use ghost arts very much. For example, a certain crescent moon Tenchong. In this case, it is better to continue to strengthen Yuchi's swordsmanship ability. In this case, there is no need to look for materials anymore. Russell murmured to himself while touching his chin. Sword Lake just happened to explode a sword seeker, purple, so he didn't need to deliberately look for other materials. Holding sword seeker, purple, self-asking, gold, and ghost, gold, in his hands, Russell summoned Yoriichi Tsugikuni. As he used his mental power to tightly entwine the three materials with Yoriichi Tsugikuni. The next moment, Russell came to the mysterious space. As expected, I can try to advance even without the advancement route. Seeing that it really succeeded, Russell couldn't help but feel a little excited. Please start compiling your story. On his deathbed, the old Tsugikuni Yoriichi seemed to see the figure of his late wife Qi in a trance. He tried hard to open his eyes, but couldn't, and his consciousness gradually fell into darkness. When he opened his eyes again, he found himself on a somewhat desolate street. Where is this? Tsugikuni Yoriichi looked at his palm that had become young again, and couldn't help but feel a little dazed. Just when Tsugikuni Yoriichi was confused, he heard a grim laugh in his ears. New here. The next moment, a shrill sound of wind sounded in his ears. But Tsugikuni Yoriichi's fighting instinct allowed him to dodge the attack. Even though he had no weapons in his hands, he easily defeated the man. Under Tsugikuni Yoriichi's questioning, the man explained to him his current situation. It turns out that this world is called Soul Society, and all humans in the world will come to this place after death. And now they are in the worst environment, the West 80th district of Rukwenge, which can be said to be the hell of rookies. In theory, souls who come to Soul Society will be issued sorting tickets and distributed to the 80 districts in the southeast, northwest and northeast according to the order of death. But Tsugikuni Yoriichi appeared here directly. However, Tsugikuni Yoriichi did not care about these details, but just thought absent-mindedly, in this case, the poem will also be here for a period of time in the future. Tsugikuni Yoriichi continued to travel in the West 80th district, looking for the trace of the poem. But unfortunately, everyone he met told him that it is normal to be separated from relatives after coming to Soul Society. In the process, Tsugikuni Yoriichi became a well-known villain in the West 80th district. The so-called villain refers to a strong man who has made a name for himself in the 80th district. And Tsugikuni Yoriichi has never met an opponent with his terrifying swordsmanship. Until that day he met a great villain with long black hair, unprecedented and unparalleled. I am the captain of the 11th division of the Goroi 13, Anahana Yachiru. After severely wounding Tsugikuni Yoriichi, the cold and bloodthirsty black-haired woman said, "If you want revenge, come to the Soul Society to find me." At this moment, Tsugikuni Yoriichi, who was lying in a pool of blood, knew nothing about the black-haired woman's motives, and had no intention of revenge. He just whispered, "Goroi 13? Can you help me find my relatives?" The black-haired woman had no expression on her face when she heard this, and when she turned and left, she said, "Yes." After some days of training, Tsugikuni Yoriichi set out on the road to the Soul Society. On the way, he also heard some news. The Goroi 13 is led by a spirit called the God of Death. It is called the Goroi, but it is actually the power of a killer group. Due to the previous war between the Goroi 13 and the Quincy, there were a large number of vacancies for Shinigami in the Goroi 13. The Quincy is a modern demon exorcist group, but it has been destroyed at this moment. No wonder Muzan is so arrogant. Tsugikuni Yoriichi thought silently. It is precisely because of the need to fill the vacancies that any wandering soul with a little spiritual talent can now join the Goroi 13. Thinking of this, Tsugikuni Yoriichi touched his extremely hungry stomach. I should be considered to have some talent. After a not-so-long journey, Tsugikuni Yoriichi arrived at the registration office of the Mayo Spiritual Arts Academy. After queuing in the crowd and waiting for a long time, it was finally Tsugikuni Yoriichi's turn to undergo the talent test. As the instrument flashed a dazzling light, Tsugikuni Yoriichi's test results appeared. 8th level spiritual pressure. This can be regarded as a fast-paced version of the Shinigami fanfiction. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 69, 5th Division 3rd Seat Tsugumi Yuichiro. 8th level of spiritual pressure. As the results of the detection instrument appeared, the Shinigami responsible for maintaining order could not help but be a little stunned. 8th level is the spiritual pressure level that Russell chose after careful consideration. As we all know, the combat power of the Shinigami will increase exponentially with the release of the Zanpakuto. And the spiritual pressure of 18 to 6 levels is the spiritual pressure level range of ordinary officers. 5 to 4 are vice captains, and 3 and above are captains. Perhaps in the future peaceful times, Tsugikuni Yuichi's talent can also be regarded as a genius, but in the comparison of some monsters, it will be eclipsed. However, in the current situation of talent shortage, Tsugikuni Yuichi is definitely a hot commodity because his initial spiritual pressure can reach the 8th level. Therefore, someone immediately went to inform the dean at this time. The principal of the Meio Spiritual Academy was the founder of the Goroi 13 and the Genjutsuku, Yamamoto Genryusai Shigekuni. Tsukuni Yuchi, huh? Upon hearing Tsukuni Yuchi's name, Yamamoto, who was still a middle-aged man at this time, instantly thought of what a woman had said to him. Just deal with it as usual, Yamamoto ordered. It was just an 8th-level spiritual pressure, so there was no need for him to go there in person. After all, he had seen geniuses who learned Benkei in a month. In this way, Tsukuni Yuchi successfully entered the Meio Spiritual Arts Academy and became an apprentice Shinigami. In the following days, Tsukuni Yuchi had a rare period of relatively peaceful time. During this period, the Meio Spiritual Arts Academy focused on teaching the 4 skills of Zan, Quan, and Gazao. Zen, naturally, is swordsmanship, and Tsukuni Yuchi is a strong swordsman, so this one can only be regarded as a little bit of his experience and analogy. Fist, also known as white fighting, is naturally a physical skill. For Shinigami other than the second team, it is not very useful. Of course, Tsukuni Yuchi also studied hard, but his level can only be said to be enough. Walking is a skill called instant movement that allows the god of death to move quickly. This skill is not difficult for Tsugikoku Yoriichi. There is only a special ability called Kido. Even if Tsugikoku Yoriichi works hard, he has only learned a few low-level Kido. At this point, Russell was a little helpless. After all, he was going to specialize in Yoriichi's swordsmanship this time, and did not invest in related materials for magic. Time passed, and Tsugikoku Yoriichi also had the opportunity to obtain the most fundamental power of the god of death, the shallow fight. The shallow fight was a nameless Zanpakuto that was temporarily loaned out during the academy years and officially awarded when he joined the team. Under the guidance of the teacher, Tsugikoku Yoriichi performed his first blade zen. Unfortunately, he gained nothing. The days passed one by one, and Tsugikoku Yoriichi's progress in Shikei was always 0. Until that day, the black-haired woman who previously called herself Unohana Yuchiryu came to the door again. Captain Unohana, facing the respectful but fearful teacher of the Spiritual Arts Academy, Unohana Yachiru just nodded indifferently and called Tsukuni Yoriichi to the kendo field. After severely wounding Tsukuni Yoriichi again, Unohana did not leave directly, but said, "You are too weak now, you are like this, can you really find your wife?" Tsukuni Yoriichi, who was lying on the ground, was a little dazed when he heard this. Although the injury this time was much more serious than the last time, fortunately he was now in the Shino Spiritual Arts Academy. Under the treatment of Kado, Tsukuni Yoriichi recovered in a few days. At night, he entered the Blade Zen again. And this time, he finally got a response. Kill all evil spirits and burn everything, Sun Wheel. It was the same fire-type Zanpakuto as Captain General Yamamoto. Just by releasing it, everything in the house was burned to ashes. However, fortunately, the Shino Academy of Spiritual Arts did not hold him responsible. Because of his successful Shikei, Tsugikuni Yoriichi was able to graduate from the Shino Academy of Spiritual Arts ahead of schedule. When choosing a squad, Tsugikuni Yoriichi chose the 5th squad as the rescue squad under the cold gaze of the 11th squad captain, Unohana Yachiru. Because of the vacancy and because Tsugikuni Yoriichi was able to perform Shikei, he became the 3rd seat as soon as he joined the 5th squad. Having written this, Russell felt that he had reached the upper limit of the materials he had provided. He breathed a sigh of relief and waited for the final judgment of the mysterious space. After a while, when he returned to reality and saw the Tsugikuni Yoriichi card floating in front of him, with the card face changed, his heart finally fell. 5th squad 3rd seat, Tsugikuni Yoriichi rank, bronze quality, red category, biological skills, red blade Kido, can use Kido with a serial number of 10 or less. Shunpo, reduce friction and air resistance through the recoil of spirit particles, allowing the user to move in a straight line at high speed. Day style, after entering Soul Society, after training in the West 80 district and teaching at the Meio Spiritual Academy, Tsukuni Yoriichi summarized his swordsmanship into day style swordsmanship. Transparent world, after entering the transparent world, the user's speed of predicting movements and dodging attacks will be greatly improved, and they can also see the flow of the opponent's spirit particles clearly. Zanpakuto, Shikei, through special chanting words, Tsukuni Yoriichi can initially release his power. Features, stripes, can greatly improve one's physical fitness. Death God, greatly increases the damage caused to spirit-type demons. Introduction, a demon hunter who fell into hell live with Second Life. Bond, when appearing at the same time with the Tsukuni Iwakatsu series, the effect, brotherly friendship and respect, can be activated. When appearing at the same time with the Yamamoto Genryusai Shigekuni series, the effect, first generation Goro E13, can be activated. When it appears at the same time as the series such as Unohana Yochiryu, the effect, big villain, can be activated. Russell silently checked the brand new Tsukuni Yoriichi. Compared with the iron level Tsukuni Yoriichi, the difference is earth-shaking. First of all, there are several more skills and characteristics that must be possessed by the Shinigami. And there are many more bonds. Secondly, the sun-breathing technique has become a skill called sun flow, and the transparent world has also produced subtle differences. Of course, the most important thing is that Tsukuni Yoriichi can perform the Shike. Thinking of this, Russell no longer hesitated and summoned Tsukuni Yoriichi. The appearance of Tsukuni Yoriichi who appeared in front of him had already changed. The original red Hori with black lining turned into pure black Shinigami uniform. And Russell, after Tsukuni Yoriichi appeared, looked at the ordinary Zanpakuto on his waist, which seemed to be no different from ordinary weapons. But to be honest, the Shinigami should have the highest fashion value among the big three. After all, fashion value directly affects combat effectiveness. Chapter 70 The Grand Drama begins. Yuichi, release your Zanpakuto for me to see. Russell said immediately when he saw Yoriichi Tsugikuni's Zanpakuto. But Yoriichi Tsugikuni looked at him hesitantly, and then looked at the surrounding environment. Russell then realized that he was still in the rented house, and calmed down all of a sudden. Forget it, I have to pay for it if it burns. Although Russell is not very short of money now, it is not made this way even if he has money. Hearing this, Yoriichi Tsugikuni nodded silently. Russell took Yoriichi Tsugikuni back to his mind and breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, he had one more trump card. And Yoriichi Tsugikuni's success also made Russell realize that magic modification is feasible. Zoro's Zanpakuto won't be 3 swords. Thinking of this, Russell couldn't help but complain. After all, there are only a handful of double-blade Zanpakuto in Bleach, let alone 3 swords. But this is still a bit too far away. After calming down his messy thoughts, Russell entered today's meditation. A few days passed, and Russell never found an opportunity to test Yoriichi Tsugikuni's Shike. The main reason was that they were afraid of making too much noise and attracting attention. Just as Russell was thinking about something else in his seat, Victoria Song walked into the classroom with a serious face. Quiet. Victoria Song patted the table and said loudly, "Students, listen carefully to what I am going to say next." Seeing Victoria Song, who is usually easygoing, so serious, the students in the Qi class couldn't help but concentrate their minds. Victoria Song coughed lightly and said clearly, "Next week, we will go to Nandu to participate in the Jiang Province Unified Examination." Before the students had time to ask questions, Victoria Song continued, "The Jiang Province Unified Examination is held by the association this year. It is an examination for all registered card makers in the 3rd year of high school in Jiang Province." At this time, Victoria Song's words were like a bomb dropped on the calm water. Noisy voices began to sound in the classroom. However, Russell and Zhang Nanxi were not surprised. After all, they had already learned about this from Zhang Wang. Speaking of which, Russell worked hard to improve himself at the beginning just to cope with the Jiang Province Unified Examination. But now, perhaps part of the reason is because of this, but more because of the Qi Ling Society. Seeing that the students had almost finished discussing, Victoria Song continued, "As an exam, there is definitely no reward." Hearing Victoria Song's words, other students expressed disappointment. But Russell shook his head slightly at this time. It is said to be a unified exam in Jiang Province, but it is more like an early admission exam for major universities. And how could there be rewards for an early admission exam? Or being admitted in advance is the biggest reward. Sure enough, Victoria Song's voice rang in the classroom, "But I hope that the students will still take this exam seriously. Because if you get an excellent ranking, everyone has the hope of being admitted in advance by universities like Nanjing University and Shanghai University." Hearing this, the students couldn't help but take a breath of cold air, making a contribution to the greenhouse effect of the earth. Russell said that the pie was too big and he couldn't eat it. And he already had a guaranteed admission to Shanghai University, and this time he went just to impact Nanjing University. After all, he has never forgotten Bai Yuming's promise. And when he felt the cards in his mind, "The advantage is mine." After school, when he returned home and opened the door, Russell saw a figure that made him numb. "You're here." "I'm here." Russell didn't bother to play wit with Malayang, and said directly, "What do you want me for?" "Another mission." "Are you really treating me like a slave?" Although Russell was a painter in his previous life, he was more of a slave than this. But this doesn't mean that someone is willing to be a slave forever. And the intelligence fee from some time ago hasn't been paid yet. Malayang was silent for a moment after hearing this, then he took out a piece of material from his pocket and handed it to Russell. "This is the reward for the last intelligence." Russell took the material and couldn't help but widen his eyes. Silver level material, Star of Evil, gold. At this time, Russell said in disbelief, "The Qi Ling Association is so generous? That thing is so important." Hearing Russell's words, Malayang didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but he immediately answered Russell's doubts. On the one hand, it's because that thing is very important, and on the other hand, the association has a new task for you. Hearing this, Russell rolled his eyes and said unhappily, "I knew you weren't so kind. Tell me, what's the matter? You already know about the unified examination in Jiang province, right?" Malayang leaned on the sofa, staring at the ceiling in a trance and said, "With your level, it shouldn't be difficult to get a good ranking. What the association hopes is that when you choose a school, you don't choose a coastal school, but an inland school." Hearing this, Russell stood up first, and then sat down again. He naturally understood why the Qi Ling Association did this. Judging from their performance in Shanghai alone, they have already buried enough nails in the coastal cities. And now what the Qi Ling Association wants to do is to drive Russell's nail into the belly of the association. Unfortunately, they didn't know that Russell was out of their control. But at this moment, Russell couldn't show that he was fearless. He immediately put on a sneer on his face, swung the material in his hand and said, "No wonder you are so generous. It turns out that this is your plan." Malayang smiled bitterly and said, "Don't be angry. Although the club has some tentacles in the inland, they are all at the bottom. Now we expect you to climb up, and there will naturally be other support in the future. Besides, the club's support for you should be more than the association now, right?" Russell was silent after hearing this. What Malayang said was indeed the truth. However, this was the material he earned by cheating with his own ability. How could it be considered as support? Moreover, the Qi Ling Club dared to give him these materials so confidently and boldly, just because they thought they were bound by the contract and could do whatever they wanted. He never forgot the scene when Gu Wu came to threaten him. The so-called gift of fate has already been secretly marked with a price. It's just that the original owner paid the price for him. Moreover, people with different ideals cannot work together. Perhaps a certain poison master named Fang could accept this, but Russell couldn't. No matter how bad the Ming dynasty was, it was at least better than the Qi Ling Society that casually used humans as materials. Moreover, combined with the information obtained before, Russell was still a little unsure about what the Qi Ling Society was going to do, but he had no interest in being a traitor. Although he thought so in his heart, Russell pretended to be a little touched but still stubborn. "I took the things, not that I would not work." Seeing this, Malayang laughed dumbly, stood up and patted him on the shoulder. "When we get to Nandu, someone will look for you." After speaking, he left Russell's house without looking back. Watching Malayang leave, Russell's eyes gradually became cold. "Tisk, Qi Ling Society, you really think you are an angel investor?" Chapter 71 Good Children Don't Learn. On the train, Russell was lost in thought as he watched the scenery passing by the window. This was his first time traveling far away since he came to this world. Fortunately, Shanghai No. 1 Middle School arranged a train for them instead of a bus, otherwise it would be a real test of the students' strength. Of course, the fare, food and accommodation were all at their own expense. Russell didn't have any idea of getting special treatment, otherwise he would have ridden a Pidgeot. But a Pidgeot is not as comfortable as a train. The train is about to arrive, and the final stop is Nandu. "Passengers, please take your belongings with you." A soft female voice sounded in the train compartment. "We're here, Nandu." After picking up his luggage, Russell got off the train with his classmates. At this time, someone was already waiting in the train departure hall, holding a sign for Shanghai No. 1 Middle School. Song Jin took a few steps forward and handed her teacher's ID to the man. "Hello, I'm Song Jin from Shanghai No. 1 Middle School." Seeing this, the man took the teacher's ID and looked at it for a few seconds, then said, "Teacher Song, right? Everyone is here? Let's go." So, Russell and his group got on the bus and went to the hotel where they were staying. Because they had to take care of their own food and accommodation, Russell naturally asked the school to help book a single king-size bedroom. He would not force himself to share a room with his classmates if he had money. Besides, he had some secrets that could not be exposed. Inside, Russell was packing his luggage when there was a knock on the door. Who? Russell stopped what he was doing, shouted, and walked to the door. When he opened the door, a middle-aged woman dressed seductively was leaning against the door frame. Seeing Russell, the woman couldn't help but flirt with him. "Little boy, do you want to do something fun with me? I promise to make you feel comfortable." Looking at the exaggerated makeup and fat body of the other party, Russell couldn't help but feel a chill, and immediately refused. "Thank you, no, and I'm not an adult yet. It's illegal for you to do this." In fact, Russell is an adult, and this is just his excuse. Hearing this, the woman couldn't help but sigh with some regret. "That's a pity, I was going to give you a discount." Hearing this, Russell's eyes twitched, and he thought to himself, "It won't work even if you pay for it." Just as Russell was about to close the door, the woman handed him a business card and said meaningfully, "If you need anything, you can come to the address on the business card to find me." But Russell just pretended not to hear it, didn't take the business card, and closed the door on his own. Not to mention that Russell felt dirty when tasting tea. Even if the woman just now had a beautiful face, Russell would not agree. After all, he had seen too many traps in his previous life. Even though Russell believed that people who would do these things would not pose any threat to him as a bronze-level card maker, it would not look good if it got out of hand. Would he and Song Jin say that he had hired a prostitute? However, just as he was about to turn around and continue to pack his luggage, the small card just now was stuffed in through the crack of the door. Picking up the card, Russell was about to open the door and reject the woman properly when he noticed something was wrong. On the front of the card, the woman's name was written, Miao Zhuan. On the back of the card, there was a line of small words. "Tonight at 8 o'clock, number 175, Jiangsu Road, Zhuangui District, see you there." The signature was a big flaming red lip. Russell threw the business card aside with some disgust. At this moment, the knock on the door sounded again, but it was the door next door. "Am I suspicious?" Just when Russell had this thought, the neighbor seemed to agree to the woman's deal. But the following conversation made Russell fall into silence. "Okay, how much is it?" "Sorry, guest, I sell my art but not my body. If you need it, you can come to Yoriichi to support us. The address is next to the hotel." "Shenzhen, what I want is a fat woman." Ignoring the lewd words of the tenant next door, Russell silently picked up the small card on the ground and sighed. It is indeed the Qi Ling Society. After arriving at the hotel, Russell had already checked the surrounding map. The hotel he stayed in was called Lechen Hotel, and the address was Taiping East Road, which was far away from Jiangsu Road on the card. And Ma Liang also told him that someone from Nandu would come to the door, but he didn't expect it to be so soon. It was less than an hour since he arrived at the hotel. Either someone is monitoring the station, or there is a problem with the contract. But Russell prefers the first one, because if there is a problem with the contract, then he was exposed when he first performed the mission. After all, the Qi Ling Society dares to invest and use Russell boldly and confidently now, relying on the control of the contract. There is no such thing as turning the tables. Putting the small card in his pocket, Russell naturally couldn't leave such a thing indoors. Even if other people saw this thing, they would only think that Russell couldn't resist his desire and was ready to taste tea. For the time being, Russell ignored the matter of the Begging Spirit Society and continued to pack his luggage. The sun gradually set, and the time came to 6 o'clock in the evening. "Teacher Song, I'm going to go out for a walk." Just as Song Jin was about to take her students to the restaurant for dinner, Russell found Song Jin and explained his request, and his reason was very sufficient. "This is my first time to go out far away. I want to see what the difference is between Nandu and Shanghai." Song Jin didn't think too much, and immediately agreed, "Okay, but don't come back too late. Now there are still 3 days before the unified examination of Jiang province, and it's okay for Russell to go out for a walk. Moreover, as a secondary capital, the level of public security in Nandu is still trustworthy. At least it won't be as bad as coastal cities." At this time, Lin Yu beside Song Jin said, "Brother Luo, can I go with you?" Russell froze when he heard this. He couldn't just say that he was going to find someone from the Begging Spirit Society. But he couldn't really let Lin Yu follow him. After a moment of silence, Russell gritted his teeth and pulled Lin Yu aside. Actually, I'm going to. In the eyes of everyone, Lin Yu first looked at Russell in shock, then his dark face gradually turned red, and he stammered, then, Luo Jie, you go alone. Then he whispered to Russell with a fearless attitude, Luo Jie, don't worry, I will definitely keep the secret for you, even if you kill me, I won't tell. That's right, Russell and Lin Yu said that they were going to go to Yichuanu next to the hotel to have a look, which of course had a huge impact on Lin Yu's young mind. Even if this world is legal. Fortunately, Russell's efforts were not in vain, and his self-pollution successfully got rid of Lin Yu. Songjin on the side looked at the two of them strangely, and sighed inwardly, am I too old to keep up with the thinking of these young people? In this way, Russell successfully gained time to act alone. However, he did not go to the address on the business card immediately, but walked slowly in one direction. If he went directly to the destination, it would be a bit conspicuous. After a long time, Russell arrived at the place where the woman had agreed to meet. Just looking at the name of the store in front of him, Russell couldn't help but fall into a daze. Yichuanum Jiangsu Road Main Store. Chapter 72, Legend of Nandu Cow Herd. Did I guess wrong? Russell's face was as black as the bottom of a pot. Before coming here, Russell had searched for this address on the map, but it only showed number 175 Jiangsu Road, and it didn't say it was the main store of Yichuanun. If he knew it was such a place, Russell would definitely not come. He sacrificed his reputation to get the opportunity to act alone. Oh no, in this situation, it is not considered sacrificing reputation. After all, he really came to Yichuanun. Taking a deep breath and calming down, Russell said the four-character mantra, I'm here now. With a calm face, Russell stepped into Yichuanun. However, from the perspective of the madam in the store, it was like this. Outside the store, a man who looked young was having a fierce ideological struggle. In the end, desire overwhelmed reason, and he stepped into the store with a momentum of seeing death. To be honest, the madam has seen a lot of people like this. Basically, they are students who want to see the world. But what's wrong with the student? You know, there are card makers in this world. She dare not neglect them. She immediately said with a smile on her face, Master, are you alone? First time here? Do you have any familiar girls? Do you want me to arrange it for you? Smelling the strong and pungent perfume on the old procuress, Russell couldn't help but frown and said, Miao Zhuan asked me to come. The old procuress looked at Russell and looked at his pretty face. She couldn't help but wonder, is the store going to start business with women? Or do some customers just like this? Hearing the old procuress's words, Russell's face darkened. Not to go to hell. But he was too lazy to refute, just said unhappily, I don't know, she only asked me to come here at 8 o'clock. He was ready. If the other party really wanted to make him a gigolo like some loser, then he would use Iron Man's vest to let the other party know the cruelty of the Begging Spirit Society. That's right, what Iron Man did has nothing to do with me, Russell. After a while, the madam returned to Luo Su and said, Miao Zhuang asked me to take you upstairs. At this time, the madam couldn't help but mutter in her heart, this can't be the gigolo that Miao Zhuang keeps. Following the madam, Luo Su took the elevator to the top floor. The madam said respectfully, Miao Zhuang, I've brought the person. After reaching the top floor, Luo Su was convinced that the woman in the afternoon was a member of the Qi Ling Club. After all, who would want the boss to hand out small cards in person? But it's too conspicuous for the boss to go in person. Luo Su secretly sighed at the other party's carelessness. Okay, you go down first. The same voice as the woman who handed out small cards in the afternoon came from behind the boss's chair with his back to Luo Su. Yes. The madam bowed respectfully and retreated. At this time, Luo Su and Miao Zhuan were the only ones left in the room. As the boss chair slowly turned, Russell couldn't help but widen his eyes. No, who are you, sister? In front of Russell was a charming woman with big wine red waves and a slender figure. It can't be said that she is the same as the woman in the afternoon, but it can be said that she is completely different. Seeing Russell's surprised look, the charming woman couldn't help but laugh. Why, don't you recognize me, your sister? As she spoke, a puff of white smoke appeared in the room. The next moment, the charming woman on the boss chair changed into the look Russell saw in the afternoon. Or are you more used to this look, little brother? And I am serious about what I said in the afternoon. After a moment of silence, Russell said, you should change back. This look is really unflattering. Bang. The next moment, Miao Zhuan changed back to her original appearance and sighed faintly. Alice, men are like this, they only care about appearance. Russell did not refute. He admitted that he was a face dog and asked directly, what do you want to see me for? Of course, he would not directly ask the woman opposite if she was a beggar. What's the difference between that and self-explosion? What if I said I wanted to ask if you are interested in working in our store? Miao Zhuan looked at Russell with interest and asked. Russell's face immediately turned cold, and he was ready to leave without looking back. Hey, don't be angry, little brother. At this time, a woman's voice with a hint of laughter came from behind Russell, and you already know the reason why I'm looking for you. Russell turned around and looked at Miao Zhuan coldly without saying anything. The two of them were in a stalemate. After a long time, Miao Zhuan laughed out loud and said in a tone of surrender, okay, I'm afraid of you. Sister is from the Qi Ling Society, okay. Hearing this, Russell was shocked and immediately took out his mobile phone to call the police. Seeing Russell's performance, Miao Zhuan couldn't help laughing and shaking. Don't act, there are only two of us here, who are you acting for, little brother? As she said, Miao Zhuan took out a contract from the drawer of the table. Is this enough to prove it? Seeing the contract, Russell's face instantly returned to calm, and he nodded slightly. Enough. Yes, this is the contract of the Qi Ling Society. Russell couldn't help being so cautious. After all, who knows if the woman opposite is fishing? Seeing this, Miao Zhuan laughed dumbly and looked at Luo Su deeply. You are young, but your mind is very meticulous. Luo Su couldn't help rolling his eyes in his heart when he heard this. As the saying goes, every failure makes you wiser. He almost overturned because he was not careful enough before. Now he must learn a lesson. Of course, it is also possible that he will learn from his failures. After confirming the identity of the woman, Luo Su was no longer polite and sat down on the reception sofa in the office. What do you want me for? There was another sentence that Luo Su didn't ask, that is, the Qi Ling Society has another mission? After all, he has only been in Nandu for less than a day, and the nails of the Qi Ling Society have come to his door so anxiously. What else can it be except a mission? Speaking of the silver level materials that the Qi Ling Society had advanced before, Luo Su has not figured out how to use them. After all, he is only at the bronze level now. Not only can he not use them, but a piece of material alone is not enough to support him to make a complete card. After hearing the serious business, Miao Zhuan stopped teasing the little brother in front of her. Don't blame me for turning into that state to find you. After all, like you, I have to be cautious enough to survive. Russell agreed with Miao Zhuan's statement after taking a look at her natural beauty. After all, the Qi Ling Society is engaged in a real business of killing people. Ignoring Russell's gaze, Miao Zhuan supported her chin with her right hand and said with a smile, there is nothing important about asking you to come here this time. First, I want to get to know you. After all, I will be your contact person in Nandu in the next few days. Second, it is to give you some information. Information about your opponent in the Unified Examination of Jiang Province. Chapter 73 Concept God, Intelligence. Russell. Intelligence? Hearing this, Russell raised his eyebrows and said, do you have detailed information about the contestants in this Jiangxi Province Unified Examination? Miao Zhuan couldn't help rolling her eyes. You think my sister is too powerful? It's just some information about students who were famous before taking the exam. You count as one. Hearing this, Russell nodded slightly, which was not unexpected to him. That's fine. It's better to know the opponent in advance than to be in the dark. Miao Zhuan slightly raised her red lips and took out a few more documents from the drawer. The things are here, but shouldn't you say a few nice words to thank your sister? Russell thought to himself, I didn't ask you to collect it. But he wouldn't lose anything by saying a few nice words, so he immediately said like a robot reading, thank you kind and beautiful sister Miao Zhuan for collecting information for me. I have no way to repay you. I can only repay you in the next life. Speaking of which, there was a joke in Russell's previous life, that is, if a handsome young man rescued a beautiful woman, the other party would pledge their love to him, but if it was an ugly man, then he would have to work like a cow or a horse in the next life. Although Maya Oxun was not bad looking. Maya Oxun looked at Russell's emotionless look and rolled her eyes, no sincerity at all. But you passed the test. As she said that, she handed the information to Russell. Ignoring the other party scratching his palm, Russell took the information and sat on the sofa to check it out. When he opened the information, The first one was an old acquaintance of Russell, Kong Kong. That's right, it was Kong Kong who was defeated by Russell in the Talent Cup. The information said that the other party has now entered the bronze level, but there is no specific card information. However, Russell did have some speculations. After all, not everyone can make cards as freely as he does. The cards made by Kong Kong at the bronze level are most likely the strange beasts in the classic of mountains and seas. The second person was someone Russell didn't know, who live from Jinghe Middle School. He is also a bronze level card maker, and the card information is also unknown. Seeing this, Russell was speechless. What's the use of you only having one level? Miao Zhuan was looking at Russell in a trance at this time. When she heard his question, she immediately chuckled and said, "Sister, I'm just a brothel owner. How much critical information do you expect me to obtain?" Russell shook his head and said, "That's true. Although Miao Zhuan is a boss, her business is a low-class business. Although it is relatively easy to obtain information from the comings and goings of people in the brothel, the problem is that not many people will pay attention to the news of students. Miao Zhuan has been very thoughtful to have this information." Russell was patient and continued to look through the information in his hand. To his surprise, the information of the next student actually had card information. Zooming from Nanjing University Affiliated High School, the card is a bronze level, Mao Jiang, the quality is unknown. Silently memorizing Zhu Ming's name, Russell continued to look through the back. Some of the information behind also has card information, and some does not. But without exception, all the students in the information are bronze level. Seeing that Russell had finished reading, Miao Zhuan looked at him with a smile and asked, "How is it? Is this gift from my sister enough? But this information has been around for some time, don't just follow it." Russell would not do so. After all, he had already made 3 bronze-level cards after making Luffy. But even if others were not as evil as him, Russell did not believe that these people in the information would stand still. Not to mention that some people may not have revealed their bronze-level strength and were not in the information. Besides, there are many heroes in the world, and Russell would not underestimate the world. It's just that there are a little too many bronze-level people in this information. According to the standards of previous years, there shouldn't be so many bronze-level people. But Russell was still very satisfied with the information in his hand, and immediately said, "Thank you, President Miao, do you have any request?" In Russell's opinion, Miao Zhuan didn't need to collect this information. After all, the Qi Ling Society did not have any mandatory requirements. But since the other party took the initiative to collect it, it seemed that they had something to ask of him. Although Russell didn't know what he, a bronze-level card maker, was up to. Miao Zhuan smiled with satisfaction when she heard this. "You are quite sensible. I don't have any other requests, I just hope that Luo will become successful in the future, and don't forget me." To be honest, Miao Zhuan didn't spend too much effort on this information. After all, the girls under her command were the ones who really got the information, and she didn't need to do it herself. And she collected this information just to help Russell. After thinking for a moment, Russell said, "If conditions permit, I can do it once within my ability." Russell would not be bound by such information. He immediately stated his bottom line vaguely. As for what is within the scope of one's ability, it is naturally his decision. Miao Zhuan didn't care about the pit that Russell dug, and said indifferently, "You can do it, sister believes in your character." Putting the information on the table, Russell stood up and said, "Then I will go back first." He certainly couldn't take the information back, mainly because he couldn't explain where it came from. Since there was nothing else to do, Russell was ready to leave. At this time, Maya Oxun showed an ambiguous smile on her face again. "Student Luo, are you really not going to try it? Sister promises to make you feel comfortable." Looking at the slightly flushed blush on Maya Oxun's pretty face, if it was the inexperienced little boy, he might not be able to control himself. But who is Russell? As a two-dimensional painter, he has seen that he has drawn more books than Maya Oxun has eaten salt. Besides, no one would really regard the other party as a female bodhisattva who helped the little boy graduate from innocence. If there is such a person, he would have been eaten up long ago. Russell didn't believe that the person who could open a brothel in a place like Nandu would be a good person. Turning around, Russell waved his hand slightly and left the top floor, saying, "If you're like this, turn off the little toy." After Russell left the top floor, Maya Oxun's foxy face, which was originally slightly flushed, gradually calmed down. It's interesting in her opinion, Russell's maturity doesn't look like a senior high school student at all. But if it weren't for this, I'm afraid the club wouldn't have let him go undercover. Outside Yichin courtyard, Russell was waiting for the taxi he had called. Soon, a car stopped in front of Russell. After getting in the car and skillfully reporting the last digit of his cell phone number, Russell found that the driver was looking at him strangely. Ignoring the other party, Russell closed his eyes and waited quietly to return to the hotel. At this moment, a slight murmur reached his ears. Students nowadays are so playful, I think this Ming pill is a waste. Chapter 74 Opening Ceremony. At the entrance of the hotel, Russell got out of the car with a dark face. How could he not know what the driver meant? But he was right about one thing. Daming was indeed a pill. The longer Russell came to this world, the more he could feel this. It was just that there was someone higher to support the sky when it fell, and it had nothing to do with him at the moment. Just then, Russell ran into Lin Yu at the entrance of the hotel. Seeing the other person sweating profusely, Russell guessed that he should have gone out for a stroll. Seeing Russell, Lin Yu's eyes lit up, and he immediately came over. "Brother Luo, you are back." Russell nodded slightly, and then saw that Lin Yu seemed to be smelling something. The next moment, he saw Lin Yu shyly asked, "Brother Luo, you smell like this, did you really go to Yichuan?" Just when Russell was about to speak to defend his innocence, he heard Lin Yu continue, "Brother Luo, can you tell me in detail what Yichuan looks like?" Hearing this, Russell turned his head and stared at Lin Yu, sighing in his heart. "Lin Yu, you thick-browed and big-eyed guy, I didn't expect you to be this kind of person." He immediately said unhappily, "I didn't go, I got this smell from helping an old lady cross the street." Seeing Lin Yu's obvious expression of disbelief, Russell was too lazy to continue explaining and went back to his room. Time flies, and in the blink of an eye, it was the day when the Jiang Province Unified Examination began. Since this exam is open to the whole Jiang Province, even if there are not many registered card makers in each high school, the number of people gathered together at this time is not small. It is called an exam, but in fact it is more like a competition like the Talent Cup. It's just that this is held by the Ming Dynasty Court. In Russell's opinion, it is more reasonable to put students into the secret realm to hunt monsters and score. It's just that in order to accommodate so many students, the size of the secret realm is not low. And the larger the secret realm, the more dangerous it is. The association can't let most of the students who are still Black Iron level go in to die. This time the Jiang Province Unified Examination is divided into preliminaries, the main competition, and the elimination round. The preliminary round is a point system. More than 2,000 students are divided into 128 groups. The first place in each group can advance to the main competition. Students like Russell, who are already registered bronze-level card makers in the association, skip the preliminary round and enter the main competition directly. In the main competition, there are players who skip the previous round, so each group is divided into 4 to 5 people for a round-robin match. Winning counts 3 points. Although ties rarely occur, in order to be on the safe side, a tie is set to count 1 point, and the loser naturally has no points. If there is a tie, there will be another round of competition to determine the winner. After the main competition, there are only 32 students left in the Jiang Province Unified Examination. The 32 students will participate in the elimination round to determine the final winner. However, students who did not enter the elimination round do not have to worry. Because this time, teachers from colleges and universities will watch the Jiang Province Unified Examination throughout the whole process. Therefore, even if you do not get a higher ranking, as long as you perform well, you will have the opportunity to get early admission. It's just that the colleges and universities choose you. On the contrary, if you get a high ranking, it means that the students choose the colleges and universities. The competition system was very simple. Since Russell did not need to participate in the preliminaries, he went to the special viewing seats for players after registering. At this time, there were already a few students sitting in the audience. Russell's acquaintance Kong Kong was naturally here. Luo Shen, long time no see. Seeing Russell, Kong Kong took the lead to say hello. Although he still wanted to surpass Russell in his heart, he had no opinion on Russell. What's more, it was Russell who saved his life last time at Jinkai Credit. Long time no see. Russell nodded slightly, as a greeting, and sat next to him. There will be factions in any force. Like now, he and Kong Kong are both from Shanghai, so they naturally stand on the same side. So it's not surprising to sit together. It's just that the talented students from other cities next to them are a little confused. After all, in their opinion, Kong Kong must be a bronze-level card maker like them to be able to sit here. But now he respects Russell so much? Then there are only two possibilities: either Russell has a big backstage, or Russell's strength is terrifying. Students who can reach the bronze level in just 3 months are not stupid, so they naturally won't think that Russell is just a show-off. After all, being able to sit here means that Russell is at least a bronze-level card maker. After the episode, it was naturally the opening ceremony. It was called the opening ceremony, but in fact it was the leaders' speeches. Since this was the first time that the unified examination of Jiang province was organized, all parties attached great importance to it. Officials from the small court of Nandu, leaders of the association, leaders above the director level of major universities, major media. There are also representatives of some large groups. The lineup is full. However, this also means that even if the unified examination of Jiang province itself does not have rewards, after getting a good ranking, investment contacts from various forces in secret are inevitable. Listening to the leader's speech boredly, Russell was muttering to himself when it would officially start. This year, many young geniuses have emerged in our province. With these words, the big screen in the field instantly showed the picture of the audience seats where Russell and his friends were. The teenagers all tensed their bodies. After all, many big figures are watching them now. Russell was not nervous. After all, he was already a traitor in the Qi Ling Society. Could anything be more exciting than this? Of course, he would not act like a maverick, but just sat up straight and stared blankly. At this moment, representatives from various universities were looking through the information in their hands, without communicating with each other. After all, they were now rivals. If other schools gained a good seedling, their own school would lose one. Russell's information was naturally included. Many university representatives gasped when they saw that Russell was a bronze-level card maker a month and a half ago. They drew a red circle on his head. Although the representatives of the group did not have any information in their hands, they were not stupid people. They immediately ordered their assistants to write down all the students on the screen. These were all geniuses with great potential. As long as the bet was right, the status of the group would naturally rise. Besides, investing in these geniuses did not make much money for the group. How could it be more than the tribute paid to the association and the court every year? With a long speech, the opening ceremony finally ended. Russell couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, he couldn't meditate to kill time, so he had to bite the bullet and listen to the whole thing. The students around him were very excited. After all, the content of the speech was basically chicken soup and big cakes. But Russell said that the cake was too big and he couldn't eat it. Thinking about the rewards given by the association before, if he hadn't worked part-time in the Qi Ling Association, his development would definitely not be as smooth as it is now. Moreover, the rewards were only given by the association, and the Ming Dynasty court didn't say anything. Originally, Russell thought that the Ming Dynasty was completely controlled by the association, but today's opening ceremony showed that the Ming Dynasty court had a lot of voice. There was no expression to Russell before, and Russell didn't believe that there was no corruption. Chapter 75. The race begins. As time passed quickly, the preliminaries ended quickly, and 128 students were decided. These days, students like Russell who skipped around sat in the stands every day to watch the game under the mandatory requirements of the organizing committee. There was nothing to do except watching the game, which was a pure waste of time in Russell's opinion. Tisk, bureaucracy. Normally, these players should be able to go back and wait for the start of the main competition after attending the opening ceremony. It would be better to meditate instead of watching the game. But it seems that the officials of the Ming Dynasty court don't think so. If Russell is not counted, only Jiang Naxi from Shanghai No. 1 Middle School entered the main competition. But Russell was not surprised that Jiang Naxi entered the main competition. After all, she has made other black iron level cards to make up for the shortcomings of the three-tailed fox. It's just that according to Russell's inference, the next advancement of the three-tailed fox should be the six-tailed fox of the gold level. After all, Russell has seen Jiang Wang's six-tailed fox, at least above the silver level. But otherwise, the Demon Fox series has a large span. From 3 tails to 6 tails to 9 tails, the span in between is too big, and the transition has to be completely up to oneself. Unless the other party can make up an extra story like he did with Jigo Yuanai. If there is no bronze level, Jiang Naxi will probably stop in the main competition. Fortunately, Jiang Naxi still has some talent, otherwise he might not even pass the preliminaries. After all, in the past few days of observation, Russell found that in addition to them, who were already bronze-level players before the start of the competition, there were also many in the preliminaries. It's just that maybe they are hiding their shortcomings or they have just broken through, which causes them to still participate in the preliminaries. Russell's grouping has also come out. Since he skipped the preliminaries, there are a total of 5 people in his group, and each person needs to play 4 games. In addition to him, Russell's group also has a bronze-level card maker named Yanlan. It was just exposed in the preliminaries. And in Russell's opinion, the strength is not strong, and the cards used in the preliminaries are only bronze-level purple quality. Of course, this is already a dimensionality reduction attack for other black iron level students. If she were to be in a different group, Tianlan would have a chance to advance. Unfortunately, she ran into Russell. Because the cards would enter a 24-hour cooldown period after death, the games in the same group could not be completed within 1 day. I don't know if it was a special arrangement by the organizing committee or Russell was lucky, but he didn't have a game today. In fact, it's hard to say whether it's good or bad. Anyway, in the end, he will have to fight with everyone in a cycle. But it's also a good opportunity to observe Yanlan's cards. After all, Russell only glanced at them in the preliminaries before. In the stands, Russell looked at Yanlan's cards with a fixed look. It's a ghost type. As for why Russell judged this way, whose normal human card is off the ground and floating in the air? Ghosts have a greater advantage over low-level and physical cards. However, as the saying goes, the evil spirits of 10,000 calamities cannot enter the holy realm, and pure ghosts are restrained a lot at high levels. For example, the mythological systems of death in various countries, or the mythological systems of the sun, have means of restraint. For example, although the high-level cards of the underworld also have the characteristics of ghosts, they are more of the category of gods. If Russell only had Luffy, it would indeed be a bit difficult. However, it is impossible to lose, but Luffy's third-gear trump card will be exposed. After all, Luffy can't even use the color of armed color, let alone the entanglement of the king. Fortunately, Russell changed the magic of Jigoyanai into the god of death. In the field, under the triple attack of the level, quality and characteristics of Yanlan's card, she won both rounds of the game today very easily. However, this made Russell certain of another thing. That is, there is no third bronze-level card maker in the group except him and Yanlan. After a period of competition, the first few rounds of the game ended quickly. Russell met Yanlan in the last round. At this time, both of them had a perfect record and 9 points. So today's duel will also determine who will advance to the knockout round. In the stands, basically all the guests who participated in the opening ceremony came to watch this game. First, this is the last day of the main competition, and there are not many games at all. Second, Russell is a key observation object. Not to mention the previous rounds were all iron-level opponents. Today I finally have to fight with a bronze-level card maker. How can I not come and watch? In the field, Tianlan looked at Russell opposite with a serious face. She came from Pengcheng, the northernmost city of Jiang province, so she was not familiar with the opponent. She only knew that Russell was a seeded player who had a bye in the preliminaries. Therefore, she did not dare to underestimate him. As long as the opponent's card does not have energy-type attacks, there is a chance to win. Tianlan has also encountered bronze-level students in the preliminaries, but the opponent obviously did not know the characteristics of ghost-type cards, and was defeated by her due to carelessness. Now she naturally wants to reproduce the scene of the preliminaries. In the stands, Jiang Naxi frowned. With a father who is the director of the association, she naturally understands the difficulty of ghost-type cards at low levels, and she happens to know that the bronze-level cards made by Russell are still more physical. Lin Yu, who was standing by, said with concern, "Can Luo Jie win?" As an ordinary student, in Lin Yu's eyes, the gap between Russell and Yanlan, who are bronze-level card makers, is not big. Therefore, although they are classmates, Lin Yu still has no confidence that Russell will definitely win. Jiang Naxi shook his head slightly and said, "Winning should not be a problem, but his card information is afraid that someone will figure it out." That's right, Jiang Naxi didn't think Russell would lose. Although Russell never said the quality of Luffy, from her point of view, the quality is definitely not lower than gold. But in the face of the restraint of the characteristics, I'm afraid that all the cards will be revealed. This is not good news. Now that the cards are revealed, there will be no advantage in the elimination rounds against other players. Unless Russell has other cards. It's no wonder that Jang Naxi thought so. After all, Russell was already a bronze level card maker a month and a half ago. It's normal for him to improve now. With a referee's whistle, a figure in black appeared in front of Russell. Seeing this figure, Jang Naxi's pupils suddenly contracted. This is. She naturally recognized that the card Russell summoned was the card used in the previous ranking test. It's just that at that time, Yoriichi was still at the black iron level. In this situation, Russell chose to use Yoriichi, and Yoriichi's appearance was obviously different from before. Advanced to the bronze level. But she remembered that Yoriichi did not show the ability to suppress ghosts when he was at the black iron level. I only remember that he was very good at dealing with flesh and blood zombies like zombies and ghouls. Russell. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.